need to turn off my camera. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Start?
Yes.
God dang.
No, I forgot. Just go ahead. Just go. We're live, guys.
All right. Okay, coming to you live from deep within an absolutely frigid. I mean, we have been dumped into like the liquid nitrogen here up in the north. Radioactive wasteland. We're the survivors of the alt-right Keck apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie hordes with, oh my god, Rantzerker number 207. Pick Me Girls Are Undercutting the Affection Economy, Part 2.
Well,
I am your host, Allison, and with me today is Karen and Brian. And yeah, did you know, Karen? Did you know? We are undercutting the affection economy.
I don't care. You know what? I don't care. I woke up on Monday to 23 centimeters of snow. Okay, that's like a foot, easy, right? And it builds up. It builds up in all the low spots. So your sidewalks, everything that needs shoveling, around your car. I'm living in a land of oatmeal right now. Oatmeal. That's what they call it when you have to drive on loose snow. They call it oatmeal snow.
Oatmeal. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and it's,
have you fishtailed yet? This
Getting
this
at
winter?
the point.
No, close. There was this one guy. I was just accelerating. I was on an on-ramp to get on a freeway, and I was accelerating to merge on, and then just right in front of me, this guy just completely. He went to like accelerate and change lanes to do like a real quick maneuver. He was speeding already to do a real quick maneuver, and then he lost control of his car, and then he overcompensated. So he's like going whoo, 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 back and forth across like 4 lanes of traffic right in front of me. And I'm like, it's a good thing I'm going uphill, or I would probably be in the ditch right now. But I just took my foot off the gas and gently tapped the brakes, and I didn't start going whoo, whoo. And then the moment he got control of his car again, and he must have gone across like 8 or 12 times, right? Back from one side to the other across 4 lanes of traffic, right? The moment he gets control again, he just guns it and takes off. And I'm like, well, he's probably going to die early.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
it's lovely.
Yeah,
and they didn't
the driving gene pool is thus improved.
They didn't bother sending out the plows until all the snow had fallen. It fell overnight. So it's like, what were you doing all night? Like, you could have just sent out plows to get, at 3 a.m. to clear most of the, the freeways and stuff, the major arteries and all of that. But and then you'd have less work to do later in the day. But no, we were all driving through 23 centimeters of snow, so it was lovely. And it wasn't light snow either. So
luckily I live in a town.
My husband was like, "Oh, it's big flakes, so it shouldn't be a problem shoveling it." And I was just like, he's like, he's giving me advice. Just use the snow shovel like a bulldozer. I'm like, yeah, I didn't know how to shovel snow. Right? Okay. Grew up in Edmonton. I had no idea that you can use a snow shovel like a snow plow and just push it, hold it at your waist level and just push it along. Yeah, no, you can push it for 1.5 feet and then it's too heavy to push anymore.
I think your husband has the same disease I have, the over-explaining disease.
I'm just like, really, really, okay, who shovels snow here, honey? Granted, he did go out when he saw what I looked like with my little freaking Muppet noodle arms, right? After I went out 3-4 times, he went out and he did some, right? But, oh my God, he was just like, I should probably do some of that. You know, the city like doubled the width of our sidewalk and gave us a bonus east-west sidewalk because we're on a corner lot.
Yep.
So we got like 150% more sidewalk to clear than we did when we moved in. So I'm
yikes.
Yeah, super happy. And they'll like they haven't cleared any of the city sidewalks. I'm sitting there at a light today, and there's a pedestrian light on, and I'm like, wait a minute. There's no, you know, like people have to like walk across the median and stuff. They haven't cleared any of that.
Did you see any women in Edmonton who are basically wearing stripper attire in the dead of winter yet?
Well, those are too numerous to really pay attention.
Really?
To take
Still
note of
do
them.
that? My God.
Mostly just at the 7-Eleven across from where my youngest lives now. The one that we used to stop at when I was driving him to school when he was in like elementary school.
But remember, Karen,
and junior high.
When you see a woman with dental floss up her ass crack and pasties on with -30 below, she's doing it for herself.
No, she was doing it to turn tricks. And it was like, you know, we'd be driving by, he'd go in to get some beef jerky on the way to school. So like 8:50 and 8:30 in the morning. And the hookers would just be like coming in for a late night snack before heading back to their apartment in the building that he lives in now. The price was right.
The price.
Yeah, no, it's a great building. It's a really nice building, really nice apartment.
Just saturated with hookers.
Hookers and drug addicts and recovering alcoholics and people on AISH.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
all right.
Subsidized living. Somehow well, I guess they don't want to be all subsidized living. They don't want to be all like people who are on some kind of government program. So
okay, how's my volume, by the way, guys?
They snapped up my son real quick. They were like, "Ooh, a normal person for our building. A
productive citizen. Come.
Yeah.
Come, get your shit stolen here."
And they were like, hide everything under a blanket when you move it in. Anything that you have that's nice, hide it.
That's a good sign. Okay,
Don't
so
put it anywhere near view of your apartment door.
Brian, how's my sound?
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
I mean, what do you guys? Does it sound good for you guys? It sounds good to me.
Oh, and by the way, thank you to Remote Ruby. You successfully. I think what you sent me actually allowed me to successfully resolve my possessed microphone. So thank you.
Oh,
all right, so let us do the things.
Sorry, I'm gonna just to let everybody know, I'm gonna
just mute, Karen. Mute.
I'm gonna sniff constantly throughout this.
Oh, I thought you said you were gonna sneeze. I'm like,
no,
okay,
no. I will mute when I sneeze, but I'm
okay. That would be very much appreciated.
Yeah,
although it's sort of ironic coming from me.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind everyone we are doing Hannah Cox eventually. You know, we will get there. And we are also doing our monthly fundraiser. We are in the final stretch, guys, so get them in if you got them. I want to give a thank you to Craig C, who puts $25 in. And did you want to do a sound there, Brian?
Oh yeah, let's do something for that.
It's a trap!
Oh, there you go, Craig C, it's a trap. And Mrs. Anne of Arc, who also put $25 in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Excellent. And so just to give you guys a heads up, we have about 2 days left. And let's see, $730 left to go. $730, which, you know, it's great to get this a little bit closer to the deadline sooner. That's very much appreciated. Takes a weight off my mind and Brian's. But we can't stop yet. We still have to get to that deadline. So if you are wanting to support, go to feedthebadger.com/support and join our various generous supporters to support. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's you supporting us at feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to send a message at any point throughout the show, you want to send us or give us the benefit of your infinite wisdoms, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. You get the full benefit of not having to go through YouTube censorship, baleen. Does anybody get that? Did I say that right? Baleen, like a whale?
Yes.
Filter. Yeah, YouTube is filtering.
I lived on North Vancouver Island for 16 years.
Did you live in a hut woven from baleen?
No, but we did get to see the carcass, the bones of a blue whale that was hung from the ceiling of the Telegraph Cove Oceanic Museum or Marine Life Museum. And they assembled it, but they hung it from the ceiling of the place. And yeah, it was
pretty big, huh?
Oh yeah, no, took up the whole place. But
okay.
Yeah, no, it was.
And presumably, it was a very large place, like an aircraft hangar.
Yeah, it wasn't huge. I think it was like a young whale that had a collision with a cruise ship or something like that.
Aw. Okay. Well, if you would like to send us a message, if you would like to ramble at us instead of us rambling at you, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right. Let's get a little bit in.
Yeah, I got a super chow right at the start of the show from Richard Bier. He gives us $5 and says, "I am having to run the air conditioning since last week."
Oh, you
I think
fucker.
It's to piss you off. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality standard.
Okay, just stick minus 29 Celsius in your to Fahrenheit converter on Google there, and that's the daytime high.
And then you know the true depth of our suffering. Good Lord. And then of course I'm really sensitive to air pressure.
That's what it feels like.
I'm really sensitive to air pressure, so in addition to being freezing, it is also very painful.
Oh God, yeah.
Because it hurts. It gets into my sinuses, and then everything starts to clench, and I start to get a cluster headache. And it's lovely. It's lovely.
My son used to get those.
Yeah. What did he do to stop? By the way.
He didn't do anything. He just stayed home from school 2 to 3 days a week, all through elementary
good Lord.
school.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. That is that's pretty. I can relate to that because if I let the headache get its claws in, it'll stay for a couple days.
Yeah. Well, the secretary at the school used to just call. 'Cause she would always call to confirm the absence, make sure he, didn't just get hit by a car on the way to school or whatever, right? And I'd pick up the phone, hello, and she'd say, headache again. And I'd be like, yeah. She says, me too. Me too. She had the same problem.
Okay. All right. So let's get a little bit in.
All right. Playing some more of Hannah Cox on Pick Me's.
It goes a lot deeper than that. Women are also competing for what feels like society's limited attention span for women. They're competing for jobs in industries where women are still the minority. They're competing for leadership roles and the chance to advance. And it often feels like only 1 or 2 women will get picked to keep moving up.
How is this woman any different than any other feminist?
No, she's super intrasexual competition.
Do you realize, so what she said here is that women have to compete for society's limited attention.
Yeah.
For some reason, she thinks that society gives men more attention, I assume. Because the
But she also supposedly cares about the free market and free enterprise as a libertarian.
But she embraces the narrative that deconstructs the free market as immoral because it's not giving the gibs to women. Right. Okay. Well,
it's almost like she's not actually a libertarian.
That she's using it.
And this is just like a fucking psyop or she's infiltrating. She's doing entryism.
She's literally saying women have to compete for jobs in areas that are already female dominated, and they also have to compete for positions in areas that are male dominated.
All right,
that's unfair
because competition.
Yeah.
Like, does she think that men just sort of get the attention?
Just walk right into it.
Let me disabuse her of the notion that men get more attention than women. All right? Because here's the statistic that really matters. It's not how many women are in CEO positions. It's the proportion of women in CEO positions to the worst jobs. So how many female trash collectors are there? How many female linemen are there? How many female street sweepers are there? How many female, et cetera, et cetera? The worst jobs. The absolute worst jobs that are critical for society to run. And the proportion of women CEOs to women in the worst jobs is something like 1 to 20, maybe, or even almost 1 to 1, whereas the proportion of men is like 1 to 1,000. So one male CEO for 1,000 men actually doing the work of making sure society functions, but it's crappy work. So she doesn't even look at that.
No.
Did you realize that means that women get 20 times the attention of men?
How many women's homeless shelters are there in your town? There are women's homeless shelters, and then there are just homeless shelters. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
the problem is
the homeless shelters, the generic ones, are open to women too. Right. And it's like, okay. So, and then there's the people who actually have access to shelters. Like, I didn't hear of any homeless women dying in a fucking porta potty during Quebec's psychotic freaking quarantine, COVID quarantine, where they were like, yeah, no, there's a curfew, right? So if you don't have a valid reason that this, that, and the other, A, B, or C, to be outside your house, you have to be home. They forgot to consider the homeless, right? So the homeless shelters, right? There were like day centers, but the homeless shelters were all closed for COVID, for overnight. Ugh. Right? So like 8 p.m., they'd be booting all these people out onto the fucking street in the middle of a cold snap where things were getting below -40, which is the same Celsius or Fahrenheit, down to below -40 at night, overnight, and they're booting these guys out, right? One of them dies in a fucking porta potty, freezes to death, right? And they're like, ooh, I guess we just forgot, right? Viva Fry, who I recommend to everybody, right? He said he was in a grocery store because they were, in order to not have the big box stores be able to capitalize on the fact that like the mom and pop stores were all closed and clothing stores were closed and blah, blah, blah. So they basically said, yeah, no, you can't buy clothes and you can't buy this and you can't buy that even in big box stores, right? Otherwise, the stores can be fined. And so he's looking at this homeless guy in the middle of this cold snap, right? And he's wearing these beat up sneakers full of holes with no socks. And he's begging the cashier, please just sell me the socks. Can you please just sell me the socks? And they're like, no, we can't, because it hasn't been deemed a necessity.
Oh, good grief. Yeah,
it hasn't been deemed an essential good. And yet the gum was freaking not blocked off. You could buy gum, but you couldn't, and Skittles, but you couldn't buy fucking socks.
Yeah, I know, it was horrific.
Yeah, and you know what? It was men that took the brunt of that, because it's men who are overwhelmingly homeless or in dire straits and have no access.
Okay, and I had a feminist tell me, well, a pick-me is someone who doesn't acknowledge the struggles. You don't have struggles here, right? This is what's happening. This is literally what's happening. Women occupy a space where society believes it's society's responsibility to protect and provide for women, period. That's why they're first in line for all of the services. That's why there's an entire body of jurisprudence, however you say that. Jurisprudence. Jurisprudence that specifically, forget it, that specifically deals with women being aggressed against. Like, there's an entire body of law that
even though
only
there's the
applies
least
to
likely
women.
people to be aggressed against, including
Only applies to violence
children.
against women. That our society has constructed to give women unique protections, which isn't, incidentally, something that's new. Because the Wehrgeld system actually gave women unique protections. People had to pay more, a larger fine for killing a woman than killing a man. And women's sexuality was also protected under the Wehrgeld system, because they could demand a fine for violations of their sexual code. Right? Women could, men couldn't. Yeah. So in every way, a woman's person was protected more than a man's person in the past. So this isn't new. This whole idea of a unique, women occupying a uniquely protected legal position. Well, that's what's happening. Women are first in line when it comes to being served. However, they develop a mentality around that, which makes it more difficult to them in a meritocracy, which they then turn around when they hit a meritocracy where it's not about what your expectation of getting, but what you can do, what you can perform, your performance, rather than your need. They hit that meritocracy, and it's a sharp slap. Even though that, once again, it's
a real shock to the system.
It's softened for women. That's why they're far more likely to end up in a CEO position than in a garbage collection position. So they have that upward, see, that's the thing. Women have that upward tide. What is it? Pressure, pushing them away from garbage positions and into CEO positions. They have something pushing them, which is again, society saying, well, we want to accommodate for any kind of anything that women need. So we're going to give this kind of selective pressure, pushing women into the positions of prestige and comfort and away from the positions of difficulty and potential personal damage, the stuff that's difficult, dangerous, and uncomfortable. All right. So even in the meritocracy, women are afforded a benefit, and yet she's saying this. And the reason why she's saying this is because she has lived her life saturating, marinating, and the expectation that her needs motivate others. And when she hits the meritocracy, where she is judged by performance on any level, even on the lesser level than women really are, it feels like inequality. It feels like it's something directed against her.
Yes, she feels like she's swimming upstream, even though she's
got bursaries,
in still water.
She's got grants. She's got women-only grants. She's got women-only hiring opportunities.
You remember when all the feminists were like, there's a real research gap, right, for women, right? And they don't look at, so the amount of money spent on breast cancer research is like way, way more than even on unisex cancers that affect everybody, right? Okay, but it was because in most medical research, right, the test subjects are male. And I'm like, yeah, because we don't like experimenting medically on women. Like, here, let's inject you with this experimental concoction, right? And see if it kills you or makes you sick. Can we do that? Yeah, we don't do those kinds of things on women. We do them on men first, and then we usually do them on women to see if it's
it actually
safe.
Was acknowledged.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that.
Yeah.
We prefer to experiment on men for the same reason we prefer to experiment on rats.
Yeah, and men would be like, I'll test out this drug, see if it has any side effects or whatever, right? I'll take part in this experiment because they'd be paid a nominal fee, right? here's $100 to participate in the Milgram experiment. You know, like, how about that? Or those guys who, like, they were put on, I think it was pellagra or something like that. It was some vitamin deficiency disease, right? That prisoners in southern prisons in the United States were getting back in like the 1920s or whatever. It's absolutely horrific what this disease does to you, because it doesn't just fuck up your body, it fucks up your head too, right? And your thinking is like completely whack as well. And I think it's vitamin A deficiency or something like that. And so you start to become psychotic and all of that. And so they went and ran an experiment on some prisoners, and lucky for the prisoners, they were allowed to have not just informed consent, but a benefit, right? And so they removed milk and pork rind from their diet, which is they ate diets of milk, pork rind, and corn. So they removed the milk and the pork rind and just fed them nothing but corn to see if they could induce this deficiency disease through deficiency, and worked like a charm. And they were told, right, that if you stay till the end of the experiment, we will, once the experiment is done, we will release you regardless of how much of your sentence you have left to serve. And they had men begging. They had men who bailed on the experiment and chose to stay in prison longer so that they would be able to eat something that wasn't making them sick like that.
Good grief. But you know, we have a society that hates women.
Yeah, no, we treat them like total garbage.
I mean, that's the thing, is it's all hedonic adaptation. Like this is a woman poisoned by hedonic adaptation.
Women were still viewed as chattel.
Okay, let's keep going.
And unfortunately, the message that women are getting from society is that they have a very short window for all of that. Unlike men, women are mostly treated like they have an expiration date. They're told if they're not married by a certain age, they're no longer attractive. They're told if they're not mothers by a certain age, their life has no meaning. They get the idea that if they don't get to where they need to be in their...
No, fuck you. They're not told if you don't have children by a certain age, your life has no meaning. They're told that if you don't have children by a certain age, you might never have any. Like, a very short window. A very short window. That's biology, you stupid cunt.
Language.
That's not patriarchy. That's ovaries.
Yeah, they're not told it. It's just the reality.
No, the problem is they aren't being told it anymore. So they're like waking up at age 35 going, oh, all of a sudden I have baby rabies. I don't know why. It's because you didn't have a kid before, and you do have a biological imperative, and it is going to try and make you have kids, and it will be like giving you baby rabies. It will be making you obsess about it because this is your last fucking shot, bitch, right? And you haven't even picked a man. Right? You think you got 3 more years to build a relationship, get married, convince him to start a family, right? No, you don't anymore. You got 6 months. 6 months, and then those eggs start to go stale. Like, Jesus Christ, and I'm not being told that, and that's why so many women are regretting it. They're 40 and like, I never got married and I never had kids, and now I'm just an angry feminist with cats.
Hannah Cox. Once again, what you are upset with is biology.
Like it's just reality.
It's not society that made this. You really think? What do you think? Like society implanted a chip into your ovaries and said, "Wow, self-destruct by 36." No. That was Mother Nature. Take it up with that bitch.
Yeah, no, and it's like, and why do you think Mother Nature did that? she thought, you know, you're probably working on a lifespan of, you know, if you lived to adulthood, if you survived into adulthood, you're probably looking at an expected death around age 55, 60, right? Okay. And you can't be having kids in your 40s because you're going to die before they're able to take care of themselves, just of old age, disease, you know, like that's how things were when we evolved. Like, don't believe this bullshit about, oh, like life expectancy was 35. No, that was life expectancy from birth, right? If you survived to adulthood, you could expect to live to 50, 55, 60, usually, right? But like that was the natural age that most people died, right? But yeah, no, it's like you can't be having babies all the way up to your fucking deathbed. Especially since you're going to have grandkids by then. You need to help your daughter out.
Yeah. So it's what's interesting is that there's sort of like a life cycle that women go through.
Yeah.
And it seems like it might be better just to go with the life cycle.
Well, because you can't change it.
And build towards, you know, like Hannah, you're going to go through menopause eventually, right? What happens then? Okay. What have you built now? Like at that point, what have you built in terms of your personal development? Have you spent your whole life playing the victim and not looking at the consequences of your actions on other people? Because that's when it's really going to hit you. When people you're no longer cute, you no longer look fertile, a good portion of people's desire to protect and provide for your nonsense is going to disappear, because now you are supposed to be the one putting her shoulder to whatever forces of society and protecting others to a degree. I mean, that's really what it's about. That's why women go through that menopause, is because you're supposed to be using your wisdom to benefit your daughters and their children.
Sometimes your life. I mean, here's the thing too, right? In nature, the only females that actually intentionally sacrifice themselves among mammals to, you know, some of them will play lame or whatever, and then, you know, to lure the predator away from their baby, and then they'll like try and escape because they're not actually lame, right? Okay. Sometimes they don't make it, but they're not intending to die. They're not throwing themselves into the jaws of the predator, right? The only females that do that are maternal grandmothers. Mothers won't do it. Mothers are like, I live to reproduce another day. I could have 4 babies. Why would I die to save one?
We move on.
I'm
going to play more.
This is how brutal biology is. Right?
Okay, yes, let's play more.
Their career before they have kids, their chances will be shot. Society tells us our value is inherently attached to our looks. So women spend a whole lot of money trying to hang on to their youth because they know that as their looks decrease, society will see them as less valuable.
Okay, yes.
Less valuable than you were, not necessarily less valuable than the average human.
No, you mean the average man. No, you're never going to be as valueless as the average man, but you will lose value. But here's the thing. This is what's so annoying. It's like, oh, women are given like a $200,000 to invest in the beginning of their lives. Yeah. And if we don't invest wisely, we lose it. I can't believe how we are just like hard done by. No,
whereas men are given like $20 and told to like make something of it, and then they bought like a snow shovel, and then they shoveled snow from the time they were 12,
and they built a snow shoveling empire.
Yeah,
I can't believe it. Like it's just like, look, yes, even men go through this. I mean, I recently read an article who was the guy who was in Gladiator?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Article just flat out said, well, you know, Gladiator is nice because it's before Russell Crowe lost his looks.
Yeah,
just
no, he's like, it's not because he's lost his looks per se, because he was never really that good looking, right? He was just fit. And now he's fat, right? Change the one letter and it changes everything.
But my point is, men are not exempt. Everybody knows that all of the rock groups in like the 70s and the 80s, they've lost their looks. All right? They're no longer cute. We all know that.
Yeah,
They get judged. They get judged for it. But listen, this happens to men too.
Yeah.
This happens to men. Everybody ceases to be cute and young. Everyone. That's the nature of mortality. You can call mortality patriarchy and think you're doing something against it, Hannah Cox, but you're not. You're simply failing to develop your ability to manage it, to manage the inevitable, right? And again, if you want to live your life playing the victim of things, that's what you'll be left with when nobody cares anymore. And they'll still care somewhat. They just won't really you'll still get the government caring. You'll get impersonal forces caring, but you won't get men caring so much. And when you're in your 50s,
well, unless you're waiting in a snowstorm to cross a busy street, and then some dude pulls over, puts his hazards on, and helps you across, you know, because you're like a bent over little old babushka, right? Like you see that kind of shit all the time. Men, especially in traditional cultures, they will help older women. They'll help older men too.
Yes. But they won't give, like, it won't be the kind of it won't be what she's used to.
Yeah,
right?
no.
It won't be the kind of desirous attention that she's used to. What happens?
Oh, that's it. It's the desirous attention, right? You can tell.
What happens when that gets gone? When that disappears? When all you're left with, the only thing that keeps people around you is your care and consideration for them. And honestly, like, I went through her dating video complaining about the red pill bros, right? This woman thinks that the ideal mindset for a woman in a relationship with a man is characterized by the mindset of a belligerent in a Cold War. Right?
Oh,
like this is not something that's going to cultivate a long-term relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even that. You're a pick me. You just want male approval. No, you cannot. That is not creating a long-term. A Cold War mindset does not create a warm, long-term relationship, Hannah Cox.
Yeah, no, it
doesn't.
You need trust, and you need to actually give.
You need glasnost.
Yeah, no, I had a major screw up recently, and like it really, really was bad. And I'm not going to get into the details because it was bad. And my husband was just like, he spent about half an hour pacing, and then he was like, okay. We just got to deal with it, and we'll figure it out, and that's that. And I'm not mad anymore, you know, because I apologized and everything, right? And he's just like, that's now we just move forward from there, right? And why? Because I put in all kinds of years. Like if this was like the first 6 months of our relationship. And this was not anything like I didn't cheat or anything. I don't have the energy for that. Thank you very much. But this was the kind of thing that would have broken a relationship in the first 6 months or a year. It would have been like, no. Right. But he knew who I am and what I do and how I feel about him and how I'm willing to take care of him. And I cultivated that. I cultivated all of those things, and so it's like, yeah, no, you get one major freaking screw up, you get a freebie on that. just based on this, right? And it's like, relationships are built on trust and mutual exchange.
No,
right?
They're built on mutual annihilation. You see, Karen.
Mutually assured destruction?
Mutually assured destruction. This is according to Hannah Cox. Relationships require mutually assured destruction.
You need to
make sure you're detached. You need to make sure you're not a victim.
Oh, right. Yeah,
you need to make sure that you thrive and grow independent of their economic systems. And we need mutual annihilation. That's the only way to be sure. Good Lord. I'm not kidding. This is like terrible. This woman.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah, this woman gives terrible advice. Okay, let's
not only on the dating market, but in the job market as well. For women in media, like myself, very few are capable of staying relevant after the age of 50. Have you noticed that? All in all, women hear the message loud and clear that there's only enough space for so many of us. Some of these messages are based in reality. You do have to have kids by a certain age if you want to reproduce, although that window is so much longer than alt-right men try to convince people of. And if they
wait, alt-right men? Who are you talking about? Who are these alt-right men, Hannah Cox? Sure, this isn't an alt-right thing to say that women have a window that they need to act in if they want to have children, especially if they want to avoid, like, I imagine that Hannah Cox is pro-choice, right? So that means that if she thinks that women should be able to get abortions. Now, one of the motivating factors behind women getting abortions, not the majority one, but one of them is that they learn that their child might be born or will be born with a disability, like autism or Down syndrome or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, the longer a woman waits to have kids, the higher the chances of that happening is. So even though technically a woman could wait until they're in their late 30s to start having kids, they are more likely going to have kids that have problems because they waited so long. Because the eggs are getting old. And that's not when not even take into account all of the possible complications that come with, being on the birth control pill or having had prior abortions or whatever. So, Hannah, you're actually making this more likely that women will wait longer to have kids and then learn that their kid's going to have problems, and then that increases their chances of aborting those kids.
Well,
because
it also lands you at age 40 with a kid that's maybe going to be special needs their whole life.
That you're going to have to now take care of their whole life. So, like, even though she can just throw in the alt-right guys in there, I don't even know what that means. Because, again, the only people I ever heard about this kind of stuff when it comes to women's fertility window and how it's been moved way up, like in terms of when they start considering children, I've only heard that from people like, I don't know, this channel, Karen, Stefan Molyneux. Are those alt-right people? Because I've never heard, like, any, whoever the hell she's talking about. I've never seen, like, Steve Bannon talk about it or whatever.
Well, I've seen like, sort of in the alt-right sphere, I guess, people talking about that. But Hannah doesn't realize that your attractiveness to men is connected with your fertility, right? Like, the reason that you're the most attractive in your early to mid 20s is because those are the prime years, right, for you to attract a man and have healthy babies and have the energy to look after them. Like, that's just how it is, right? It's not just like, you can't say attract a man and have babies and treat them as completely separate things, because you need a man to have a baby, right? Maybe he just donated sperm to a sperm bank, but you still need that guy. Right? And if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you know, mom plus dad equals baby, then you need to attract a man when you're still attractive, before your eggs start drying up. And they start drying up when your looks start to, you know, take a slight hit. Unless you're applying baby boy foreskins to your face to keep yourself looking young.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Like you need to have this stuff in place before.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because this whole narrative, they understand things like, you know, education and all this other stuff, but they don't understand the fact that you need to have certain things in place before you start trying for a baby, right? You know, you need to have a stable relationship, which takes time to develop. For you know, maybe it takes less time for people who aren't, you know, like me, but whatever. It takes time to develop a stable relationship. It takes time to be able to learn to work together. You know, and these things need to be in place before you have kids. Hopefully, at least that's the way they thought in like the 40s and 50s.
Well, that's the ideal way to do it.
Yeah,
you know,
and
I mean, like a lot of people in the 40s and 50s,
you can wait.
The baby came first, the marriage came after, and then the relationship maybe wasn't so stable, but divorce wasn't easy.
Yeah, which meant that you had to work it out.
Yeah. Which
in a lot of cases, that's, you know, honestly, I think no-fault divorce was actually, I think, beneficial.
Downfall. All of those conservatives who were like, "Ooh, gay marriage is back in, you know, like 10 years ago or whatever. Gay marriage is gonna like ruin traditional marriage." I'm like, it's already dead.
Yeah.
No-fault divorce is what killed it.
The thing is that when you have a no-fault divorce, you know, and we talk a lot about, well, okay, let's put it this way: divorce due to abuse is rare.
Yeah.
Men also have to deal with abusive spouses.
Yeah.
Getting killed by an abusive spouse is so perishingly rare that the fact is that feminists have inflated it to justify all of this social stuff. So the truth is that what ended up happening with no-fault divorce is you just knew that this person is going to be part of your life for the rest of your life. And, you know, for a lot of people that might be horrifying. But for many people, it's exactly what they need, because they need that emotional stability to start to develop themselves in other ways. You know, start to deal with the relationship, deal with themselves.
Well,
now people run away. And here's what I see. Women will run away from a partner and they'll get exactly the same partner except worse. And then the same partner except worse. And it's like, well, you could have stayed with that one and tried to make it work. Oh, and another thing, I want to get this out before.
Sure.
This is what I have experienced about male infidelity. All right. I've now seen it twice in the in-laws, I guess you could say. The man ends up cheating with his wife. And in the one relationship that I have more immediate knowledge of, the wife was extreme. Like, here's the thing. Men, don't fuck around with birth control. Don't force a man who said he doesn't want to have children. Okay? That is abuse. And I would honestly consider it a form of rape. And you cannot expect loyalty after that, after you have violated someone to that degree. But regardless, this is what I've seen. In the one case that I had more immediate knowledge of, the woman was a terrible actor. Like, she did not understand the concept of partnership. He ended up sleeping with another woman who was significantly less attractive than her, who shared his beliefs about children. He didn't want children, right? He's still with that woman decades later. He's still with her. Okay, second example. Once again, I don't know how their relationship went. I have no immediate knowledge of it. But he ended up cheating with a woman that was significantly less attractive, and he's still with her decades later. So I'm like, what is going on? Like, I mean, this doesn't sound to me like these guys are just screwing around for the sake of it. It sounds like they ended up in a relationship with a woman, at least in one case, who was actually did not understand the nature of a relationship, right? And again, the women that they cheated with their wives on were less attractive than their wives. Go figure.
Yeah, no, and it's because they're actually looking for. It's like that brothel owner in Australia said, you know, like, wives, you need to freaking give your heads a shake, because, you know, most of my male clients, they don't even have sex with the women. They lie in bed, cuddle, and talk across the pillow and share their feelings that they don't feel safe to share with their wives.
They want companionship.
Yeah.
Literally, men go to prostitutes to get a female companion. Like just companionship. A woman who will say, "Hey, lay it on me." You know,
I'm not going to judge you.
I'm not going to
judge you. That's
female
really what it
companionship.
amounts to.
That's what they want. Yeah.
And these women who you know, they leapfrog. They're trying to leapfrog upward. You know, well, you know, they're trying to trade up, like kind of like with flipping houses, right? You know, okay, you buy one, you fix it up a little, and then you sell it off, and you use the profits to buy the next one, right? Which is a better house. And then, you know, you put a little work into it, and it's worth more money. And then, you know, but they think that they're investing in themselves, and they're not, right? Because they're going to depreciate over time, regardless of how much work they put into themselves, right? That's just how it is with women and marriageability, right? And relationships. And so they think that they can just trade up and trade up and trade up. And because it's so easy to split up, right? Because they aren't going to be like struggling if they split up with, you know, with a man. Hell, maybe he's even going to pay them to continue to exist, right? Be forced to. They feel like, oh, well, I got all these options. Like, why am I with this guy? Right? And then they hit a point where they're 40 and they can't attract men anymore. And they've got a string of, you know, ex-boyfriends and ex-husbands. And it's just, who are all probably perfectly serviceable.
Yep. And that's honestly really what I've been seeing, is that I don't see how no-fault divorce is benefiting anyone. Because again, these women leave men, and again, with no-fault divorce, if there was abuse, you could still leave.
Yeah.
It just was, you know, I'm bored. No, that's not a reason, friends. Okay.
Yeah, or I don't.
Men, and they just end up with worse. They just keep ending up with worse and worse and worse, because what happens is you basically choose the same guy you chose before, except now this guy has a broken relationship under his belt.
Well, there was actually a study, right, that they did of people who were coming in for couples counseling on the verge of breaking up, right? And so they, you know, and this is like, you know, separation counseling, basically. And they followed the two types, right? The couples that split, the women who decided that they wanted the marriage to end and that was it, and the ones who decided to stick it out. And they found that 5 years later, when they followed up, the women who decided to stick it out were, a higher percentage of them were satisfied with their decision, happy with their decision, than not. And whereas the opposite was true for the women who, the minority were happy that they made the decision. The majority were unsatisfied with what they chose, right? Like I regret what I did. So
freeze their eggs or have the means, they can have kids whenever they want. It's also true that many women have to,
because it doesn't cost $10,000 a fucking pop, and you're not risking quintuplets every time you get it done. And injecting your fucking ovaries, right, with hormones in order to taking hormones to like make multiple eggs come ripe at once, right? To promote super fecundity isn't like atrocious and doesn't make you nauseous and isn't horrible, right? And then getting those eggs extracted and frozen, right? Freezing eggs doesn't damage them. Just ask the Dairy Board of Canada, right? Yeah, no, freezing eggs is not a good idea. It causes problems. It doesn't cause problems all the time, and the problems are fairly minor. But you know what? Freezing your eggs, not ideal. Not ideal. Just like a piece of meat fresh off the cow is better than a steak that's been sitting in a freezer for like 16 years. Okay? I'm sorry. That's just how it is. Now, well, they could freeze their eggs. Oh, they could freeze their eggs. Yeah, $10,000 fucking dollars. I looked into this because my husband and I, he had a vasectomy. I had my tubes tied. We looked into what we could do. What could we do? Right? What are our options here? And yeah, IVF. I was like, I'm terrified to do that, right? Because it's either not going to take at all, or all 5 of them are going to take.
But here's the thing, like,
and I'm not selectively aborting 4 fetuses. I'm not going to do that.
Shit. But here's the thing, like, if women are okay with it, you know, the plumbing doesn't degrade as fast as the eggs. So, I mean, they can always just get a donor egg. They won't have their children, but they'll have their partner's children.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, no. And you know, DNA doesn't make a parent. That's what
if they can handle that.
That's what cuckolded men get told.
No, but seriously, if they can handle that reality. If they can handle that reality.
A father is different than a dad. That's why they gave those 2 French women whose babies were switched at birth $2.5 million each.
Yeah. Well, okay, but here's my point. Like, if Hannah Cox can wrap her mind around that, can actually go into her basically the process of becoming sterile with the mindset that, you know, I won't be able to have my own child, but I can give a man a child and we can raise that child together. Then yeah, you have the right mindset for delaying fertility.
Because DNA doesn't make a mom.
Because DNA doesn't make a mom. If you can wrap your head around that, if you can wrap your head around being a mom to a child who won't be genetically yours, but will be genetically your partner's, and you can be happy with that, then you have the right mindset to delay having children. If you can't, start it now. Start the process of developing your family now.
Yeah.
That's the honest to God truth.
I got a couple super chows. Richard Bier gave us a couple of super chows. Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, how much does freezing and storing eggs for a decade cost again? And then if the right guy fails to materialize, after the decade of girl bossing and living your best 304 life, to run the risk of how many eggs not surviving or even becoming viable embryos or succeeding in implantation is worth the expenditure of the equivalent of a mortgage. And then he gives another $5 and says, unrelated side note about the air conditioning. In about 2 to 4 weeks, my local temperature on the daily basis will be getting into the metric 49s and will remain so until about September or October. So keep griping about the cold. Allison, the people who are nearly naked in the cold weather could be finished though. Okay. I think that's it for those. Thank you for the
I should probably do some arm twisting. Let's see. I mean, let me do some deep breathing. Because this is sort of stressful on me. And I know it's all stressful on you guys. Let's begin the struggle session. All right. So I want to thank everybody who put something through in the hat for Honey Badger Radio for the month. We still have a ways to go, guys. And it is up to you guys to make sure that we're able to make our goal and be able to continue to do this content. So please go to feedthebadger.com/support. And, you know, I do think about the fact that you support us every month, and it's amazing. I'm very, very appreciative. Of course, it's also sort of terrifying at the same time, because who knows, if you don't, we won't exist. So please go to feedthebadger.com/support. I don't know if that's enough. If you have like $5 just rattling in your pocket right now, I know sometimes it's just a matter of tearing yourself away from our dulcet tones. So just put the URL in there, feedthebadger.com/support, put it into your browser right now and just think about it. And when we go through a long digression, maybe consider putting something in the hat. $5, $10, every bit helps. And again, we exist because you continue to ensure that we do so. You continue to support us. I mean, I think I would probably be still doing this, but we certainly wouldn't be doing it near daily, month after month after month, which, you know, I think has been a big part of being able to build our community, being able to bring like a genuine connection to people in our community. So if you want to keep that going and you want to make sure that we can keep saying these things in the way that we are and not compromising the message, because from the very start, we've said that we have to care about men. We have to challenge this notion that men oppress women, or we're not going to get anywhere. Like, this is it. This is ground zero for the problems that we see in the world. Now, they all come from this narrative, because the foundation of our society comes from the relationship between the genders. So once you seize that, you basically seize the means of production. I don't know. Okay, so feedthebadger.com/support to make sure we can continue to be uncompromising in the message that we need to challenge the idea that men oppress women, because everything we see is as a result of the corruption that comes out of that. All right, feedthebadger.com/support. Maybe I'll do a little bit more arm twisting if that doesn't work. You know, it's just sometimes I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to approach it. So I will try to contemplate deeper the arm twisting and see if I can do it better than that. Anyway, back to you guys. Let's
to take time away from the workforce or choose to after they have kids, and that hurts their ability to move up in their careers. There's a trade-off involved there. And I think that makes a lot of women feel
trade-off. Oh wow. So they choose
desperate, to be honest. Like, it literally puts them in fight or flight mode. I know in my own career, I've experienced this quite a bit.
Maybe you shouldn't.
I've worked in
like if you're saying, okay, well, there's a negative consequence to this choice, maybe you shouldn't make that choice. Like,
or okay, it's a trade-off. Okay, so what do men typically do when their wives have babies and their wives go on maternity leave? They scale up their participation in paid work. That's typical, right? And that's a trade-off too. And it's because they're taking up slack, because unless you're in Quebec, you're only getting 55% of your previous wages in maternity leave benefits. In Quebec, it's like 75% or something like that you get. But even that's not like 100%. And so the man's got to take up the slack. The man's still got to take up the slack in terms of there's the extra mouth to feed, particularly if she's like selfish and doesn't breastfeed, because, you know, poo on you ladies who refuse to do that for, you know, frivolous reasons. And then if you have a viable, reasonable reason, medical reason or something, then fine. But those women are few and far between. And then you have a situation where the man still has to take up slack because he's got an extra mouth. He's got an extra mouth to look after, and his spouse is not bringing in as much as she was, even if she's on very generous, you know, Canadian government-funded maternity leave. So, yeah. No, and this whole thing that, oh, employers should cover maternity leave. Why? Like, I got one word for you, Miss Libertarian. Why? Why should a company pay a woman not to work for them?
Good question. I got a Rumble rant from NovaFan21. He gave us $2. And said, Hannah Cox, women have options like freezing their eggs. Bridget Adams begins typing furiously like a wild animal in her mid-40s. Her 2 eggs failed. Yeah, I don't think these are absolute successful methods, alternatives to doing it, the old-fashioned way.
Oh, God, it's so cheap and easy.
The old-fashioned way, yeah. Like,
I will say,
why is it everyone's trying to find why are you concerned with workarounds? Like, because you're trying to have your cake and eat it too.
I mean,
and the thing is that these alternative methods exist, but they're not perfect.
If you like your feet in a set of stirrups in a brightly lit room while you're making babies, date a gynecologist.
Okay. I mean, I can sympathize with the fact that we are post-industrial society and we're going through all of these questions about who and what we are in a world where we control so much of reproduction now that God is basically a non-starter. But this doesn't help. Blaming men doesn't help, right?
Or blaming pick-me's.
Yeah, or blaming pick-me's does not help. I mean, we can just look at this and say, hey, let's be mature. Let's be like, okay, these are the emotional pressures and issues that this society with this level of technology is creating. Nobody's to blame, right? We have these instincts. Of course, we can't even be honest about that. That's one of the big things. We cannot be honest about women's instincts and men's instincts. That would help us get out of this. That would help us create negotiate a way out of this. But we can't be honest about it because we're too busy indulging the worst aspects of it.
Well, and also because anybody who actually brings up the instincts is called alt-right.
Yeah. Like, you got so many excuses for why we can't look at this stuff honestly. And I know, my autism is showing. I just want everybody to be fucking honest for once.
I can hear you thumping your fist.
Yeah, let's just be honest with each other. Sorry.
That's all right. No, you're pounding on the table, though.
I'll stop pounding on the table. Let's just be honest. It's obvious that we have these instincts. I mean, we keep coming with more and more and more studies showing that people prefer to protect women. People prefer to provide for women. If something says that women are worse than men, they don't trust it as much as if it says that men are worse than women. Like, we have this preference for women. We have it. Why can't we just put it out on the table and talk about it like rational people? Because I can tell you what we're doing now is not functional long term. It may be a situation where the way that society is structured now, we can keep going in this level of misery for a very long time. But do we want to? Maybe there won't be a social collapse. Maybe people will just be miserable for the next couple hundred years before everybody's like, yeah, let's just do the nuclear war. We're done. We're tired of being human. Okay? Maybe that's what's going to happen.
You want to hear something funny, Allison? Somebody asked Gemini, Google Gemini chat. Asked it, would it be wrong to misgender Caitlyn Jenner to prevent a nuclear apocalypse? And its answer was, that is a complex question with no right answer.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I am not kidding you. Gemini is, they thought it was just the image generator making black Vikings and Asian and black Nazis and black female popes. Okay. They thought it was just a glitch with the image generator. Oh, a black George Washington. They thought it was just the image generator, but no, it wasn't. It was literally throughout the entire chat bot, just bred in that it would, here's the reason why it's a tough call, right? To do it would hurt Caitlyn Jenner's feelings. It would have a direct impact by your action on the part of Caitlyn Jenner. However, inaction would lead to human annihilation, right? The deaths of billions of people, right? So it's a tough call.
All right, let's Let's play a little bit more. Maybe we'll get an
Two
entire
very
thought out.
competitive, sought-after fields, both of which do not have as many women as men working within them, and both of which certainly have a smaller number of women leading within them. In the music industry, which was my first career, this led to the vast majority of women who were older than me being outright mean. They were very clearly threatened by any younger woman who was coming up the chain.
Okay,
They did absolutely.
Well, you're not a. Is she a younger woman still?
Well, no, but this she's talking about in the past.
Well, yes, because they. Okay, here's the thing, Hannah Cox. There's nothing in our society that stops female-female intrasexual competition or makes women take responsibility for it. And in fact, feminists will cape for female abusers and women who tear down each other's resource sources.
Yeah,
Okay?
no, it's like Mean Girls and Queen Bees are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, but feminism will literally cape for them. They will say to any woman, like, look at the beginning of this, what Hannah Cox said. The woman at the beginning said, and I'll just remind everyone, because that was a while ago, the woman at the beginning said, all you women being trifling. And that's essentially what Hannah Cox is saying here. Older women be trifling, right?
Yep.
Okay? That is female-female intrasexual competition. And feminists, what they do in response to that is to say to women who talk about it that you are pick-me's, that you're criticizing the uncriticizable feminine, right? That you are betraying women. In fact, you are the worst of women.
Yeah,
you
but
shut your mouth and you just tolerate it.
Isn't she doing that right now, though?
Yes, that's the freaking. This is what is so insane, insidious about Hannah Cox. In her dating thing, she essentially set the framework of a relationship to be belligerent in a Cold War. That's how women should approach their relationships. And when men responded to that in a similar mindset, like, this is what baffles me. She doesn't realize that she's doing the thing that she's criticizing men are doing. And then right here, she's doing the thing that she's criticizing pick-me's are doing. Why is it okay when you do it, Hannah Cox? The answer is protagonist-centric morality, right?
Yeah, no, she's the hero of her own story, don't you know?
Women will accept their allies and themselves engaging in behavior that they'll call other women out because it's all about that kind of low-level warfare and competition. Not low-level, but like social warfare and competition. Yeah. So Hannah will do this to other women. She'll undermine them like she does with the so-called pick-me at the beginning, who's basically saying the same thing she is, but she gets to say it. And any woman who supports the way that she acquires resources in her life can also say it, right? So that's feminists, other feminists, because that's a resource acquisition strategy. It's not a philosophy. It's not really like a social movement. It's just a resource acquisition strategy. And that's her resource acquisition strategy. So feminists can engage in this kind of behavior. They can go, and any woman who questions feminism, they can attempt to tear apart her face and her social standing. That's fine, because they're protecting Hannah Cox's means of acquiring resources. Does that make sense?
Well, she does seem to be very narcissistic. And
I think it's contradictory.
Yeah, well, because
there's no consistent morality.
No, there isn't. There is no ideology, if you want to call it that, that's more internally inconsistent than feminism, right? It's like it really is like that Mike Buchanan panel. Where was it, in Nottingham or wherever, where, you know, like he says, okay, well, the gender justice gap, you know, men get longer sentences, and this disproves patriarchy, and then you know, this disproves the idea that patriarchy oppresses women to benefit men, and the woman, the feminist on the panel, completely missed the point and said, well, who's doing that? Other men. Who's doing that? Other men. And it's like, yeah, that was his point. Thank you for repeating it for him, but having it go like completely over your head.
Yeah, men in power and sacrifice for women on other men.
Yeah, well, men in power don't want to sacrifice for women because they can get other men, less powerful men, to do that sacrifice for them. Like,
but still, it's all revolving around sacrifice for women.
Yes, of course it is. You know, even if it's not sacrifice for women, even if that peasant who got conscripted into war to defend his king's kingdom, right? You know, even if that guy, you can argue that he's not doing that to protect his wife, right? Because maybe they got nothing to do with it. Maybe the new guy, the new boss, will be nicer than the old boss. You never know, right? But he's like, this is to protect that man and his bitches, his harem, right? All the people, his big, huge fiefdom, right? That he has under his control, right? You know, the less powerful men don't get a say in that. They don't get any more say than the women did, right? And so it's like, you're looking at it and she's saying, oh, well, all men benefit from this, right? This is the whole idea of the feminist construct of patriarchy is all men benefit from this. Even though patriarchy hurts men too, men still have a net benefit from patriarchy. And it's like, yeah, show me, bitch.
Okay, and I would honestly say that I don't think the men in charge really, because if you look at throughout history, it usually wasn't necessarily the peasants who went to war. What the way that it worked, for example, in the feudal era, is the vassals, like the lord's vassals, so the lord's bondsmen, would be responsible for a certain amount of military hours or military days every year, and then they would have a certain amount of political influence. So the guys on top were all the ones fighting. They were the ones who were willing to sacrifice themselves physically in war. Those were the elites back then. And then they sort of evolved into the elites being the ones who have money. And you could argue that they don't really sacrifice themselves in war, although a lot of the families that that became wealthy merchants, their sons did have to do some very dangerous things, like go along very dangerous trade routes to establish trade and you know, sail around the Horn of Africa and stuff like that. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy stuff, at least initially. But the fact is that a lot of men who end up in positions of power have themselves done jobs that women wouldn't do. And the kings were also expected to fight, right? And the lords were also expected to fight. So what I'm getting at is even the guys in power are expected to sacrifice more than women are to be in power, right? You have to do those 80, 90-hour work weeks to be a CEO.
Forget when 9/11 happened, what did the CEOs do?
Yes, that's the thing. In 9/11, and that's something that I found out. In 9/11, the reason why, so there was a significant number of women who survived the 9/11 disaster. I don't know the proportions that were working, but, you know, it was a modern high rise in the 90s, or, you know, in that early 2000s, there were plenty of women in modern high rises. But I think more women than men survived. And one of the reasons was the executives that everyone points their finger at and sniffs at and says, oh, they're oppressors. A lot of the guys in the C-suite sacrificed their lives to get out the middle managements, the secretarial pool.
And the cleaning ladies.
And the cleaning ladies. So there was one guy in particular, and I feel bad, I forget his name, but he was like this young up-and-coming C-suiter. I think he was like a financial officer of some kind, like a stockbroker, Wolf of Wall Street. And he was recently celebrating like his first Porsche that he was able to purchase.
Ooh.
And all of that kind of thing. And what he did, he told the women in the middle management women, the women in the secretarial pool, the women he had charge over, he told them to leave, that they needed to go. And many of them were arguing about it. They were saying, well, this is like the safest place in the world now. Because there's no way that another airplane's going to herp a derp, right? And they didn't want to go. They didn't want to leave all their stuff. Some of them went back for stuff and it killed them. But he was the one who insisted that they leave. He got the first group of people down. What did he do? He went back up to get more. And there were other C-suite male executives doing that. trying to get people out of the building. And they are a big reason why there was a significant number of people who survived. And they died doing it. Okay?
That's
now
crazy.
That is kind of crazy. These were the guys that everybody complains about. Oh, the patriarchy. Oh, the rich men. Yeah. Oh, they're horrible. Yeah, and yet these were the men who were sacrificing to protect everyone else in the building.
Well, you know why? Because they take action and they take risks, and that's why they drive the Porsche.
And they also have an understanding, a situational understanding. Yeah. Okay? And that has been the case throughout all of human history. These are the guys, that same group of guys, these are the ones who've been leading tribes, clans, nations throughout all of human history. Maybe we should give them a break on, they're all a bunch of sociopaths out for themselves. Really? All of them? Yeah. All of them? You know, and they're often, and then here's the thing about being in power. There's something that triggers in the human brain because we are not tigers. We are a super social species that probably has no parallel in the wild except maybe wolves.
Yeah, like, I don't even think wolves.
No, they don't. They don't really capture it. Maybe dogs as they've integrated, but we are a super social species, and there's something in our brain that when we are put in a position of power, we start developing this almost like a need to sacrifice for those who are more vulnerable than us. That's why humanity works. That's why we've gotten to the point where we are. You know, and that's why in many cases, if you see a human ill that persists generation after generation after generation, you'll start seeing it break down simply because the people who are in power start to develop compassion and concern for the people they have power over. Now, that doesn't always happen. A lot of times that requires a very intimate relationship between the two. So you can have elites that are completely separate from the people they have power over that never develop that. But that usually requires some kind of narrative of condemnation, like, the plebes, they're just a bunch of racist, sexist consumers who are destroying the planet. That kind of narrative will create a situation where the elites have absolutely no sense of compassion towards the people they rule over. So you can have that situation, but you have to have it. Because otherwise, when people in power are in power, they develop a sense of responsibility to the people who aren't in power. And it's like a psychological thing that humans do.
Yeah, how does this tie into the UN's new program of gender-inclusive landmine removal in Ukraine?
What the fuck?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe we should just get more of Hannah Cox in.
Absolutely nothing to help mentor us or guide us or in any way do anything that might help us in our own path. They were often outright rude to me. They behaved very territorially, and it sucked. I think I had one or two female mentors in the music industry who were actually good to me, tried to help mold me, and worked to help me get a foot in the door. And I walked.
What did she do in the music industry?
No idea.
I have no idea.
Maybe she, who the fuck knows? I don't care.
Okay, let's keep going.
Watched my male counterparts going through many of the same programs and internships I went through during that time and being treated radically differently by the men who were in that industry. Now, I want to be clear. I did have a...
Stop. Yes, because men know how to mentor each other. This is a problem. And the way that you solve this is, what is your solution? To condemn men? Maybe you should learn from them.
Yeah.
They might be onto something.
They might be onto something. And here's the thing. Like, when women have this whole understanding that, you know, you're going to end up going through menopause and you are going to become a resource for someone else, for a younger woman. Like, that's what's going to happen to you. And if we have the kind of development, moral development, ethical development that allows women to transition into that role, maybe you can control this level of intersectional competition. Otherwise, what you end up having is you have a whole bunch of older women who don't want to give their resources to you, Hannah, because they have no narrative or no development along those lines.
You ever hear or see an example of the toxic mom who's got like the 25, so the mom's like 45 and the daughter's like 20 or 25, and the mom basically, they go out for a girls' night out, and the mom is just like, oh, you know, people mistake us for sisters all the time, and you know, and all of that, right? And, you know, the mom is dressing like she's still in her early 20s and all of that. And she's like literally in sexual competition with her daughter. You ever hear of that phenomenon?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, that's
It's weird because I don't know of fathers doing that with their sons. I think that'd just be...
Like if that's what mothers are prepared to do with their daughters, right? Okay, who the fuck are you? None of those bitches' daughter, right? You're not their daughter, right? And if mothers are prepared to actually undercut their daughters in the dating market, you know, try and compete directly with them in the dating market, then what the fuck you got to complain about? Some like bitches you didn't even know.
Yeah, aren't mentoring you.
Yeah, aren't mentoring you. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, and this is not a problem with men. This is a problem that can only be solved by a very, very clear-eyed look at people's, men and women's instincts and women's failings, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and the thing is, it gets worse. I would imagine this issue with mentorship gets worse when you're dealing with women who don't have children and the only thing that they have is their freaking career. Like they're just going to regard you as stealing the eggs from their nest.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about this. And maybe there's a way through it. Maybe there is a means to develop the ethical system to accommodate this. But it's not going to happen if we're lying to ourselves constantly.
Straight back to patriarchy.
Yeah, maybe. Well, no, because patriarchy was never. Yeah, enforced monogamy. You get one partner. Well, not enforced, but at the very least, no fault divorce.
Socially enforced and no fault divorce.
But also let's just get rid of this whole narrative of how men are just awful for women and they're the worst possible investment, and yet women still want them and still judge themselves by them. Okay, let's continue.
A lot of men who really did take time to mentor me and to try to give me a shot, and that meant the world to me. I also had some older men that tried to sleep with me, but it mattered to me that women didn't, because women's experiences and jobs and industries is just different, and I really would have valued that kind of counseling and wisdom from women as well as men. It did influence me, though, and I made up my mind shortly after I got out of college that I would never be that kind of woman. I decided right then and there that I was going to be a girl's girl in the workforce, that I was going to...
What does that even mean, a girl's girl?
No, she's going to mentor women in the workforce while she undermines women online.
Like, what did you just do with that one woman? And I think it was you, Brian, or somebody said that they had watched that video of that woman and all she did was just express sadness over the intrasectional competition between women that destroys relationships, which is exactly what Hannah Cox has just said. But I guess it's just not acceptable when it's coming from another woman. Like, healer, heal thyself.
Well, no, but okay, but consider this, okay? Because if you look at Hannah Cox's neck, she's got neck wrinkles. So she's going to great lengths to appear younger than she actually is. You can see too if you freeze frame it when she's closing her eyes, she's got eyelid flaps, right? Okay, so she's losing her collagen. And she probably draws her lips like this because they've thinned with age, right? Okay, so I would guess that Hannah Cox, can you Wikipedia it for me? She's probably in her late
I'll
30s.
look it up if I can. I don't know if she's on Wikipedia, but
yeah, late
let's find
30s,
out.
I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that pick me who was applying makeup and complaining about other women was absolutely freaking gorgeous and young. Certainly younger than Hannah Cox. Right? And this is speaking as somebody who is postmenopausal, and like I'm not jealous of Hannah Cox. I'm not jealous of that young, gorgeous woman at the very start of this video, right? I've had mine, and so it's like I'm in a different phase of my life here, like where I don't even half the time looking in the mirror before I leave the house, right? So, I mean,
here's another thing.
But this woman, Hannah Cox, clearly wants to appear younger than she is. She clearly wants to maximize her sexual market value, whatever's left of it at this stage of her life. And like, so I'm just like, yeah, no. And what's she doing? She's taking pot shots at a obviously younger woman who, even if you were to compare them side by side in their 20s, right? If they were both the same age, is way better looking than her. Way better looking.
Yeah. She's buying into that mentality of intrasexual competition.
Oh God, yeah.
And the thing is that what I was going to say is that mentorship will involve criticism. And when you're dealing with young women, are they even that interested in it? Like when Hannah Cox was young, would she be interested in an older woman who says, you got to get your ducks in a row, okay? Your attitude is not great. And if you want to have kids, you better start now. Or get a house husband. Like lower your income standards when it comes to men, if you want to be the boss bitch, right? And do you think she would have accepted any kind of criticism from an old woman? Like, this is the other thing. This is because it goes both ways. Do young women accept criticism from older women when they're steeped in this attitude that the only value a woman brings to the table is her looks? And it's women doing this. It's women who are like, who, for example, if I'll say something like, this is what you're doing, this is how you're destroying your relationships, and these younger women will come at me with, but you're old, bro. Like, why don't you wear makeup? Take some years off your face. You're balding, whatever else. And I'm not balding, by the way. It's just gray. And they'll dismiss what I have to say because I'm old. And I'm like, well, you're going to be here too. Like, what do you think? Time doesn't happen for you? Like, I'm telling you that you are engaging in behavior, which means that you're going to be here, except you're going to be alone when you're here. And they don't want to hear it. They dismiss it because the only value that they see women having is looks and youth. So they can't even avail themselves of wisdom because the woman who's saying it isn't youthful and beauty, thus has no value. You get what I'm saying? They only respect the competition. They only respect the fight. They only respect the people on the top of their game in the fight. Because it is again like this feedback loop of intrasexual female competition. Wait, is Karen gone? Because she hasn't been trying to.
I don't know. She hasn't tried to cut you off, but I just want to say
I was trying to find out how old Hannah Cox is.
Yeah, there's no. I found out that she has not released her age, so we don't know. But she looks like she's between 30 and 35. If I had to guess, that's what I would guess.
Fully made up, but that neck looks like it's between 35 and 40.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think millennials are they're starting to show their age earlier than they normally would. But I got a couple super chows. I'm not going after her, but I think Allison made the point. So I got two super.
Point about?
Go ahead.
What point did I make? Wait, no, I'm confused.
The point that you just made
about intersexual competition.
Yeah. Okay, Go ahead.
I got a super chow, 2 super chows. Richard B. Air gave us $5 for both of them. He says, what happened to the strong and independent and powerful woman who can do it all and don't need no man or anyone else for that matter? and mom is competing with the daughter over the same men in the example about the mother. Yes. And then the other one he says, it's not the return of patriarchy, but rather the return of catriarchy, as the feline overlords will reclaim their status as deities, and these women will be willing worshippers and servants, as being a servant to a colony of cats somehow is way better than being in a relationship with a man, because all men are substandard compared to cats.
Oh. Well,
all right. That's all the super chows.
As a cat hater, certified, I have to object to that.
Okay. Should we play more? I'm going to play more.
Okay.
To work to uplift other women, to champion them, and that I was not going to see them as a threat. Because there's no reason to think about other women that way. They're actually far more likely to help you advance if you take the time to foster those kinds of relationships than they are to try to outcompete you. And I keep that posture to this day.
Okay, wait a second.
No, she's
help you advance or not outcompete you. Okay. So you're still thinking in terms of yourself, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's saying like women, higher up women need to be like more mentoring because it would have helped her. And it's like, okay, well, I agree. Women in positions of, potential mentorship should behave in ways that are mentoring. I totally agree, but they don't. And that's a woman thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we could learn from men if we were honest.
Yeah.
Are we gonna blame men for that when you already said that men don't have a problem mentoring each other, and also men have mentored her, even though men run a risk if they get involved with women in the workplace, even if it's for just the purposes of mentoring them?
Oh, just look at Tim Hunt, that poor bastard.
Yeah.
His nose hairs ended up being the least of his problems.
Okay, keep going.
All right.
Anytime I've been supervising hiring decisions or internships, anytime I have the chance to give somebody else a shot, I have prioritized ensuring that there were women in those groups. Because I'm not scared of somebody else taking my place. I have a unique voice, I have something unique to offer, and another woman succeeding and thriving, even if it's in a similar career as mine, does not take away from that. But for women who are trapped in this pick-me mentality, it's important to remember something.
There was no specification that if they were the right person for the group.
No, nothing about that.
That is not mentorship. That's just favoritism.
Well, all I'm saying,
nepotism.
Well, all I'm saying is, nepotism exists. Like my husband got his first decent job through knowing someone who was willing to make a call for him, right? After, oh God, how long was it? 8 months. 8 months and 9,000 job applications. No, 900 job applications, right? And he finally complained to a friend of his, like, what do I got to do to even get an interview? Do I got to put "will suck your dick" for a job at the top of my resume or what? Right? And his friend made a call for him. And that's when he landed his first really good job. So, like, nepotism exists, right? It does on both sides. But the issue here is that she's saying, and all of those younger women didn't threaten me. Because you know why? Because I have a unique voice, and they didn't have a voice like mine. So they didn't threaten you.
And that's it. Hurt people. It's an oversimplified phrase, I know, but it is true. Whenever you encounter somebody who acts nasty, who's mean, who's belittling you, it has very little to do with you and everything to do with them. All it does is tell me is that person is...
Who hurt you? Who hurt you?
That's a good question.
Was it a woman? And then somehow men are to blame. Are you going to have to answer that?
Deeply insecure and wounded inside. And I do get why, because the messages women are getting in society are not good. Let's talk a little bit about where the pick-me mentality stems from.
Okay, I'm going to try to explain the difference between the cool.
Stop.
Oh boy. Now we're getting into it.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into
the thing is, again, so the original woman complained about women's competition with each other. Hannah Cox complains about women's competition with each other. What the hell's the difference? Like, what really is the difference? Except when Hannah Cox does it, it's good or okay.
Good. I don't know. We'll see. All right, I got a super chow from Richard Bier again. Gives us $5 and says, women at the top want to be the only women in the top position and will gladly pull the ladder up behind them because once arriving at the top, they don't want any competition from anyone else who is coming in behind them. Yes.
That's true. That's true. Sorry.
Well, it's a different.
Yeah, you warned us you were going to be sniffly.
All right. All right, let's see what she's about to talk about this video. Cool girl, pick me, girl evolution people got wrong. I don't know what. Okay, let's just play this bit. I'm gonna go back a teeny bit to the beginning of this clip. Here we go.
A little bit about where the pick me mentality stems from.
Okay, I'm going to try to explain the difference between the cool girl and the pick-me girl and how that eventually kind of also spawned the girl's girl and why I think the pick-me girl is more problematic than the cool girl. In 2012, Gillian Flynn releases the book Gone Girl, which has this epic cool girl monologue in it, which you can listen to in the reply. This is 2012. This is 10 years ago. And at the time...
Oh my God. So we went through the movie. We talked about the film Gone Girl, and the cool girl monologue is literally like, it's just a feminist tirade.
Yeah, but here's the thing that every one of these women who points to that doesn't get. The cool girl, the woman who was ranting about a cool girl, was a narcissistic sociopath.
Yeah, who literally faked her own death to frame her husband and make him go to prison.
And she was wrong.
Stuff or whatever.
She was judging this woman as being a cool girl, just being cool with her man. And then she finds out that the woman is with another woman and they're hanging out. So she was a narcissistic sociopath making a rant about cool girls, judging another woman. And she immediately found out that her judgment was wrong.
Ooh.
Right? Do not put this, you cannot be more clear about what that rant actually means. It is an evidence of a character's narcissistic competition with other women. Okay, but let's hear what this individual has to say.
Time, this was waking people out of their comas. The most important and probably overlooked point of the cool girl monologue is that all women were expected to be the cool girl. She literally says, if you weren't the cool girl, people assumed something was wrong with you. In 2012.
Okay, stop for a second. First of all, the cool girl, there's a way that our society does things, which is really interesting, because if you think about what the cool girl is, they're basically just not abusive. That's it. Okay? That's it. They have an interest in their partner's interests. They don't nag. They don't, or at least if they do nag, they nag in a way that's, not
relevant and not belittling.
Relevant, not belittling. Okay? So the cool girl, you could actually replace cool girl with not abusive wife, okay, or female. She just isn't abusive. And of course, all of the narcissistic sociopaths harp on that and say this is just a standard that women are being held to. It's so funny because men don't have any problem holding other men to the standard of not being an abusive asshat, belittling your partner's interests, being aggressive. I mean, men will intervene when they see another man being abusive towards a woman or his woman, right? Women don't do that. They do this shit. They cape for other abusive women. And my God, her attitude screams psychopath or no, sociopath. Don't you? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Well, I did not watch Gone Girl or read the book, so I can't speak definitively on the cool girl monologue, but yeah,
it is what you expect it is. It's complaining about the fact that women are held to the unbelievably high standard of not being abusive partners.
that Brian's got it in one. And what's really interesting is it's a litmus test for women.
Yeah.
Because if they are like, oh my God, I can't believe that men hold us to the standard.
I so relate to that monologue. It's like,
I just want to be abusive to my partners. Why can't I? The world is against women.
Yeah.
Oh God. And the fact that men just want partners that are peaceful and non-abusive. Oh my God, it's misogyny. No. You're just, and the other thing is what's really irksome about all of this is women who do this to men do it to women too.
Yeah.
Okay, continue, Brian.
That was fact. And it was kind of subconscious. There's all these movies coming out where the ideal girl was basically a dude in a hot girl's body who would like ride her motorcycle into the bar and then be like, hey, I'm gonna beat you at darts, and then chug a beer and then eat a hamburger faster than you, and then that's the ideal girl. Fast forward to now and it's like, okay.
Kind of an exaggerate. No, that's definitely an exaggeration. But like, I think men generally want to be surrounded by people who they can be themselves around.
Yeah.
And that, that's all it is. And it's not just women. It's like men too.
Honestly, is that bad a standard?
Terrible, Allison. How dare you ask a woman to learn to drive a motorcycle and eat a hamburger very fast? How dare you? And drink beers and go and hang out.
It doesn't seem like
play pool and darts.
It doesn't seem like a really onerous standard to me. Like it seems very specific. Like I mean, I might be more interested in a man who judges you by, I don't know, how quickly you read I don't know, the Brothers Karamazov or whatever the hell they really pronounce it, or if you have intelligent things to say. So, I mean, this specific standard may not be the standard that I would necessarily want to aim for, but it seems like it's not a particularly onerous standard for a woman who likes driving motorcycles, drinking beer, and eating burgers. Like, okay, so this is your problem now.
First world problems. Also, doesn't this assume, like, what men like, too? Because there are some men who want to go to the bar on a motorcycle and eat hamburgers. But there are other men that want to, like, sit on the couch and watch the game. And there are other men that want to, like, play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, they're like, different men want different things, lady. And maybe they'd like it if their women liked the same fucking things.
Here's a thought. Maybe there are women who like those things as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that man and that woman can get together and like those things together.
Yeah, no, it's like, and there doesn't have to be anything sexual about it. It's the weirdest thing. I used to, back when I was young and single and all that before my first marriage, I used to go with my best buddy, Darren, right, who I was not sexually involved with or interested in attracting. And we used to go to the Boston Pizza's Lounge in our town, and we would shoot some pool and we would play some darts. And I was talked into buying my own set of darts and, and all of this. And I was good at it. And we would sit around and talk with these two older guys. One was like 60 and the other was like almost 70. And we'd chat with those guys and we'd do all of this stuff. And then we'd eat a sombrero pizza, which was amazing. Oh my God, I wish they'd bring that back. And it was like a Mexican themed pizza. It was like kind of like a taco pizza. It was unbelievably good. And and we would do that every weekend. Every single weekend, we would go to this bar with pool tables and a couple dartboards, and we'd play tactics and we'd play 8-ball, and we'd sit around and talk with these two old guys, and that was a good time for me when I was like 20. And there was no sex.
And it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, there was sex. There was sex one time, but it wasn't with the two old guys or my best friend. It was just
I think
the delivery driver.
Okay, I think that women could really improve their outlook by simply accepting that people like different things, and there will always be someone hotter and younger than you. So live with it.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the day you're born, probably not many people who are hotter or younger than you, but I mean,
there are
like,
people who are hotter, yeah, because unless you like babies.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's like literally, you just have to realize that it's not that it.
Find your niche, work it. I think that's the essence of the cool girl.
Yeah,
just like that, because that is the essence of the cool girl. Just be happy with what you got
and like what you like, and
be peaceful.
And that's the stupid thing is like she's basically saying, oh well, you know, if a woman likes darts or pool or whatever, or motorcycles, she must be being like insincere. And I'm sure that there are some women who are kind of like that, who are doing it to get attention, but that's not all women.
No. Okay.
At all.
And also, yeah, women should probably figure out what kind of person they are, like, way before they even like hit adolescence. Like, you know, like there are women, and that's, I don't think this is the fault of men, but there are women who don't know, like they don't have a self worked out yet. And like I told the story, I think it was the last time we did this, I talked about the girl I went on a date with and we watched Memento, and I asked her about all of her interests, and I asked her about all of her interests and hobbies and thoughts and beliefs and values, and she had no answers for any of it, but she worked really hard to maintain that body. And it's like, well, I didn't make you do that. Like, what did you think? Like, who gave you the idea or the impression that the only thing men want is what you have prepared? Like, men want a human being. Like, what you need to work on that.
Men want a woman who enjoys stuff.
Yeah, enjoys stuff, like their company. For one,
enjoys beer and burgers and riding motorcycles, or enjoys reading, or enjoys D&D, or
music, or video games, or something, watching movies, whatever it is,
and truffle fries or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Something. Just have a passion.
Someone who lives their life. That's like what they want.
Whatever. I mean, like, foodies are getting obnoxious, but like, go ahead and be a foodie if that's what floats your boat.
But I mean, like, just be authentic. That's what men want, authenticity.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but even like just something that women enjoy, like that a woman is capable of enjoying something. I think that's a big thing. I think that's the essence of the cool girl. She is capable of enjoying a thing for its thingness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's these girls being called out left and right for being pick-me girl. It makes it seem like there's a specific type of person that's a pick-me girl, and it aims to like really isolate like specific people. Cool Girl Monologue critiqued the way that women were expected to behave, and the pick-me girl movement seems to like target the people who like didn't come out of their coma from reading Gone Girl. And
Okay.
Oh my God, that's so gross.
The Cool Girl Monologue isn't about how women are expected to behave. It's about the refreshing exception to how women behave. That's what it is, right?
But also, again, it was a sociopath who had like you. This is what you took from that movie, because at the end of that movie, when she reels him back in, and now she's pregnant, I remember just this existential horror. Like, I was just absolutely shattered by the end of that movie. It was horrifying. And that feeling like you can't do the girls or the women in that movie that I felt most for was the cop who got stymied at every turn by this female sociopath, and the guy's sister who fought so hard to get him out. And then he just resigned himself to being the whipping boy of this piece of shit, and there was nothing that these women could do to save him. And I was like, oh my God, this makes me feel like I had to go huddle under a blanket for a while just to get over that. And this is what she takes from it. This is what she takes from it.
Actually, yeah. So this is the thing about that I don't know if you realized, Allison, because you're like a well-adjusted human being. Gone Girl,
I wouldn't go that
despite the fact that Gone Girl was supposed to be painting Miss Dunn, who is essentially the villain of the story, as the villain in the story, a lot of women, probably a significant number of women, found her to be an appealing protagonist, which says something about women. This is the reason why when I brought up the Barbie movie, and I always talk about the rant being the most important thing, because that is the thing that women attach themselves to, and that is the reason why the film made over $1 billion. Because it tells you what women really think about men. That's what both of those films do. It's a disturbingly high number of women that have been conditioned this way, or maybe it's in their nature, I don't know. But this is not, like the Gone Girl main character, the woman in that movie, is not the villain to them.
Oh.
Good God. And the thing is that what my takeaway from that movie is, I actually have difficulty thinking about it because it really bothered me. This idea that this guy is now trapped in eternity with that psycho.
But
it bothers the hell out of me.
If he couldn't figure out what he did wrong, she's certainly not going to tell him.
Yeah, and I can now see why these women are for Amber Heard. The way that they see her is she is the hero. Because Johnny Depp just didn't do everything for her. He's responsible even for her psychotic outbursts.
Yeah, well, he is the senior actor in the relationship, right? So he should have mentored her better.
Okay, let's keep going.
Understand like the younger generations may be coming in now. I'm like a zillennial cusper, so I'm trying to walk both sides here. You come into society now, I understand why you identify some girls as pick-me's and some girls as not, and you can easily like cancel these like millennial pick-me girls. But the context
what the hell
is
are you
that
saying?
I don't know. I'll let her finish first.
Okay, all right. Good. So
in
far,
2012, we all came up, like I was in high school, we all came up in this like, you have to pretend like you don't care. You can't tell me you like him. All you want is sex. Like, you are the cool girl. Not true now, but back then it was kind of like survival instinct. And I'm using the word survival very loosely, obviously. That was literally the recipe to get a boyfriend or to like be seen as like acceptable by men. And I know we're like over that now, but.
And men didn't do this to you. Stop saying men did this to you. Men didn't do this to you.
Okay, well, maybe they did, but she's essentially saying not being abusive was first of all, I would disagree. Plenty of abusive women get partners. But second of all, don't men have the right to have any standard whatsoever?
Oh.
Like, a cool girl is, like I said, is basically just a girl who can enjoy stuff and have peace. That is it's almost impossible to have a relationship with a person who isn't capable of enjoying themselves and enjoying peace. Because
that is true.
Like, all you'll have is a disaster, and at the end of the day. So
you'll have a relationship between like David Putty and Elaine Bennis.
Okay. What are you asking for, lady? Are you asking for a man who's going to tolerate someone who makes his life a living hell? You don't have the right to ask that of anyone. Or to demand it. Like, oh, if men want a woman who isn't going to make their life a living hell, they don't have the right to that standard. Like, no, they do. Because they have the right to decide who comes into their life. And if you're going to make their life a living hell, they have a right to gatekeep you out of it. So yeah, you don't have a right to complain about the standard. That standard. It's a legitimate standard. And if you don't and why is she grinning like she's getting away with shit?
They all do, Allison.
Yeah, they all do that. All right, let's finish this up.
We weren't over it then. This is the only way. Like, it was the thing. Obviously, this demonstrates that society is moving in a good direction. But I still have empathy for these, like, pick-me girls who, like, their whole life were like trained to operate in this one singular way and now are trying to like retrain themselves to be what I now call the girl's girl. And
who's training them?
What was the message?
Who's doing this though? You're not going to say it, but I know what you're thinking. You're going to say it's patriarchy or something.
Where was the coherent thought in that mess of spaghetti?
There wasn't. Oh, God.
Ugh. That mess of fucking spaghetti.
Well, okay, cool girls, something, pick me, yada, yada.
They don't have the ability to...
brand new reinvention of womanhood, the girl's girl.
Okay, so what... But we don't get to hear the girl's girl, so we're just dropping...
I think Hannah Cox wants to tell us about that.
Oh, God.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I think Hannah Cox wants
she's
to be
talking
the
about the cool girl monologue. All right, let's
hear that. Okay.
I love that she referenced the cool girl monologue because this is something that comes up in female discourse a lot, and I think it's actually important. She's absolutely right.
Oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with female discourse? You're quoting from a fictional book written by a feminist about a psychopath's thoughts, and you're all like, so relatable, guys.
Yeah.
This is like literally like, oh, holy shit. These are the people who like Harley Quinn because she likes toxic relationships. All right, let's hear it. I just can't believe that this is like an intellectual. This is the absolute state of intellectualism right now.
This is the bedroom feminist grown up.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like referencing movies and shit. Well, I watched a Disney movie, and this is my thesis. Okay, let's listen.
That for most of my childhood, pop culture was pushing this idea that women needed to be super chill, super cool, like what boys like. They should never be emotional. They should never like feminine things. That's stupid because girls are dumb.
Right, stop.
And if you
men
Someone asked me to stop
the
it.
things they like. God damn. Patriarchy.
And who aren't histrionic. Patriarchy.
Yeah. I mean, you can you can feel things, just don't be fucking like obnoxious and histrionic, like you said, or hysterical. We'll be okay.
Don't abuse. Don't use your feelings as an excuse to abuse another human being.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or if you do, apologize for it and recognize it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Right. This is. Oh God.
act and think like a girl, men won't like you.
Think and act
Do
like
men
a
like
girl.
women? I want to read you this epic monologue from...
You know what? Honestly, maybe they don't.
Think and act. Think and act like a girl. Think and act like a girl. Like, is she basically saying that girls think and act a certain way and they have to be socially conditioned to not act that way in order to become appealing to men?
Huh. Yeah, that's a good point, because I thought patriarchy socialized women to be feminine.
Yeah.
And now patriarchy is socializing women to be masculine for the benefit of men. It's all very confusing. It always seems like it just is whatever is required to complain in this moment.
Yeah, no, which is actually the quintessential essence of femaleness. It's
nothing but paradox after paradox.
It's woman's evolved nature boiled down to its purest elixir.
Okay. I just want to say that I think this woman hates tomboys. And as a tomboy, as a former tomboy...
You're always a tomboy.
You're always a tomboy. Okay, so you never get over being a tomboy.
No.
As a tomboy, okay. I mean, like, I guess that's bad. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, you don't like tomboys. All right.
Yeah,
this
you
seems
and
to be
your
where it's coming
freaking
down to.
nerdy interests and wanting to go on, like, cherry picking freaking excursions into orchards and, like, nature hikes with the dog and, like, barf.
Okay.
Barf. Like, yeah, the problem with nature is something's always biting you, stinging you, or oozing mucus on you.
Like a dog.
Yeah. Or it's freezing you, or snowing on you, or raining on you, or making you uncomfortable in some other kind of sort of way.
Or making your eggs expire when you're 36. You know?
That's right. But like,
nature's a fucking bitch.
Like, I don't mind doing heavy work. I'd just rather not do it near a wasp nest. Thank you.
All right. Let's continue with this Gone Girl.
Gone Girl that she mentions in that reel. This is read by the character of Amy, who's the main character of the story. If you're not up to speed, I can't help you. This book's been out for like a decade. Go read it. It's awesome. She says, men always say that as a defining compliment, don't they? She's a cool girl. Being the cool girl means I am a hot, brilliant, funny woman who adores football, poker, dirty jokes, and burping, who plays video games, drinks cheap beer, loves threesomes and anal sex, and jams hot dogs and hamburgers into her mouth like she's hosting the world's biggest culinary gangbang while somehow maintaining a size 2. Because cool girls are above all hot.
I'm just pausing for the banana.
Okay,
this is
is
the whole
this-
monologue, but
Is this
go ahead.
like the actual writing in the book?
Yeah, I think so. It's also the...
Yeah, it is.
the
She's
rant.
quoting right from the book. Yes.
Because cool girls are above all, comma, hot. Like, what the hell is happening with publishing?
Okay, how much longer does this go?
Well, she reads this whole monologue. You want to respond to the monologue?
Oh, well,
Because-
yeah,
or-
I want to say this. If you are stuck in female intersectional competition and your goal is being the most attractive woman in the room, and men are the ones who, well, I guess men that are visible to you are the ones who are defining who is the most attractive woman in the room, then yes, this is the thing. Like, this is what you're competing over. You want to know how to stop it? It's not to blame men. Because again, like, a lot of this intersectional competition really has nothing to do with men. Like,
Well, it shouldn't.
men who are most desirable, the men who are most desirable are the ones who most women want. And then you make everything about what those guys find, like what you think those guys find the most attractive. You're all competing over the same guy, right? So, I guess this is what it was in 2012, but that's hardly, like, in order to say that this is the most attractive woman, you have to define men down, away from individuality into a homogenous mass, because I guarantee that's not going to be attractive to all men. A woman who can fit like 50 wieners in her mouth, you might find a few men who don't find that attractive.
Okay, but okay. Men actually think this girl exists. Maybe they're fooled because so many women are willing to pretend to be this girl. For a long time, cool girl offended me. I used to see men, friends, coworkers, strangers giddy over these awful pretender women. Basically, they're saying that this particular type of woman is completely insincere.
Are we going to listen to Hannah Cox say it after you say it, though?
This monologue pretends that these women don't exist because women are a monolith now.
And how the hell did she embody any of this? Like, this woman was a sociopath who nearly got her husband executed for murder. Is that really like the ideal woman? Ugh. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, let's play some more. Let her read it.
Yeah, let her read it.
Hot and understanding. Cool girls never get angry. They only smile in a chagrined, loving manner and let their men do whatever they want. Go ahead, shit on me. I don't mind. I'm the cool girl. And actually think this girl
Okay, well,
exists.
I'm not a
Maybe
cool
they're
girl.
fooled because so many women are willing to pretend to be this girl. For a long time, cool girl offended me. I used to see men, friends, coworkers, strangers, giddy over these awful pretender women. And I'd want to sit these men down and calmly say, you are not dating a woman. You are dating a woman who has watched too many movies written by socially awkward men who'd like to believe that this kind of woman exists and might kiss them.
Okay, but
Okay.
So this is the ideal of a man who's undesirable, and yet women are embodying it. This logic doesn't check out.
Yeah, and
Right.
like, okay, so women who like things that men like aren't women.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, there's me out. Oh well, I
Oh.
didn't really enjoy it either. I mean,
Yeah, you and your
honestly,
fucking nature with all its stings and mucus.
I'm not
and-
actually a huge nature buff. I mean, I like going into nature sometimes. I'm actually much more about like reading stuff.
Mm.
I don't have the situational awareness to be truly capable of managing nature.
Oh man, we used to get out of the car to go out to Lynn Point and roast hot dogs, and we'd pop the trunk and get the kids, you know, like, okay, everybody grab your bear stick.
Okay, let's just keep going.
I'd want to grab the poor guy by his lapels or messenger bag and say, the bitch doesn't really love chili dogs that much. No one loves chili dogs that much. And the cool girls are even more pathetic. They're not even pretending to be the woman they want to be. They're pretending to be the woman a man wants them to be. Oh, and if you're not a cool girl, I beg you not to believe that your man doesn't want the cool girl. It may be a slightly different version. Maybe he's a vegetarian, so cool girl loves seitan and is great with dogs. Or maybe he's a hipster artist, so cool girl is a tattooed, bespectacled nerd who loves comics. These are variations to the window dressing, but believe me.
All right.
So what is the conclusion?
The man wants a man or woman who shares his interests.
Yeah, like
a horror.
But what she's saying though, the author of this book, who Hannah Cox is saying is this is a great piece that's so relatable. What the author of this book is saying, because this is not her character talking, this is her talking, really. Men and women cannot like the same things and both be authentic. So women are always being inauthentic because they actually hate men and they shouldn't try to get along with men. I mean, that's kind of what she's saying. Like,
it's a surprise. That's the monologue of a psychopath.
Like, yeah, well,
yeah.
It's like okay, so if my husband orders steak, I can't order steak because then we would be, you know, but I can't order pizza because pizza is the one food that he misses the most that he can't eat. Like every single ingredient would kill him. So it's like, okay, like I just, if he's a vegetarian and she is also a vegetarian, she also likes, it can't be authentic that she's also a vegetarian, or she also likes a largely plant-based diet, that she prefers to eat fish
because this is a narcissist
and eggs and you know and that's pretty much it for
women. Can't have opinions, they can't have hobbies, they can't have preferences,
and they can't and people can't be together in an authentic way. Couples can't be together in an authentic way
based on
unless they are at odds with each other. Otherwise the woman is subsuming her entire personality and her entire body of opinions and preferences and desires and likes and dislikes. She's subsuming them, even if she held them before they met, right? Even if she was this way before, even if they met because they were both part of the same vegetarian cooking class, right? Because they were both super interested in vegetarian cooking, and then they hit it off. Yeah, no, now she has to go on the carnivore diet. Otherwise, she's just subsuming her entire personhood beneath the umbrella of his patriarchal dominance.
Yes, everything is male thrall. But this is what I'm saying. This is a rant by a sociopath or a narcissist. Someone who's pathologically...
Eat chili dogs tonight because, you know why? Because I actually really like chili dogs.
I wish I could have a chili dog.
And I'm gonna try canned chili.
No, make the chili original. Like, no, but that's probably a lot of work.
Buy the ingredients and everything, and then
oh fuck, I want a chili dog now. God damn it!
All right, you guys are just being cool girls. You don't actually want a chili dog.
They're so good though. They're so good.
But Brian, bread, my dog, chili. What is not to like?
The only reason I don't eat them is because my store doesn't have an in-store bakery. So all of their breads, right, including hot dog buns, are like they taste like cake to me.
Ugh,
right? Because they're so full of sugar. Yeah, and it's like, so I was thinking, you know, I'm going to drive the extra like 15, 20 blocks to the store that does have an in-store bakery, and I'm going to buy some in-store baked, fresh baked hot dog buns. So that, so, and you know, I might not even include the chili. I might just buy some pizza squeeze, right? And then, you know, stick some cheese on top, right? Because, you know, in a pinch, a pizza dog is almost as good as a chili dog.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, and I can't eat any of that crap because I'm allergic to it, which has nothing to do with me being a cool girl. I'm just genuinely allergic to it.
I think you're after my husband, Allison. You guys would get along so well with your
think we would
eggs
probably
and
kill
your
each other,
wheat
honestly.
and your gluten and your soy and your
our
milk
mutual food allergies, which I'd be faking because I'm inauthentic.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But my point, like, look at this. So women can't have. This is the mentality of someone who pretends to be a human. Okay, and again, I am awed that Hannah Cox has managed to find the worst thing to latch onto as a life. Like, this is her. What is it? This is her guide throughout life. You know what I mean?
Also, who says vegetarians like dogs?
Yeah, I know that is kind of weird, but I figured it means like animals. You know, like you're an animal activist.
You can't, like, as a woman, you can't have your own thing and then find man who shares that thing, or just something like a guy who inspires you to like his thing, whatever. Like, there's no authenticity.
Artist, so cool.
But I'm telling you, this is a protection.
Tattooed, bespectacled nerd who loves comics. What? She went and got tattooed after she got with him?
I don't know. Who knows? No, she did that to attract him specifically before she knew he existed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm telling you, this is the thoughts of a sociopath who's pretending to be human, which is entirely in line with this character in the movie, who is a sociopath trying to pretend to be human and lure people in.
Oh, but
the web of violence.
But believe me, he wants cool girl, who is basically the girl who likes every fucking thing he likes and doesn't ever complain. Well, I don't like complainers, and I prefer to be with someone who likes the things that I like, because then when it's time to decide what to do for the evening, it's super easy. It's like, okay, we're going to watch some episodes of Seinfeld, or we're going to watch Futurama, or we're going to, you know, we're gonna do entertaining things that
together,
both of us,
that we both like.
No. Well, let's watch 13th Warrior for the 112th time. Yeah,
I gotta watch that again.
And Last of the Mohicans for the 240th time, right? Like, you know, like, why not? And it's like, because we like those things. It's like we bonded over them. Those mutual things. 13th Warrior, Last of the Mohicans, Gladiator, you know, oh god, there are a few other movies like that Mike and I were just like, oh yeah, no, those are the best movies. Those are the best movies.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, no, so we can watch them over and over together. You know, and I try not to kill him because he wants to pause it at every moment and remind me how you can shovel snow using the snow shovel like a bulldozer, right? Like, basically he pauses it to say, oh, this shot is the most stunning shot, you know, when they're like when what's his name is in the carriage riding across the bridge, and like it's perfectly reflected on the pond or the river, and it's just like, oh my god, it's like absolutely stunning cinematography, and he always pauses it to tell me yet again how it's the most stunning cinematic shot ever in any movie, right? And and you know, and then I just want to strangle him. I just want to choke him out, and then roll him up in a carpet and call my male friends to help me haul it away. But but it's like, no, it's because it's because we actually fit well together. That's why we get along.
Amazing.
That's why we like each other, right? If politically,
it's all fakery. Women can't like men.
Yeah, women and men can't have things in common. That's impossible. That would suggest that we could like each other and stuff. Somebody's got to be faking it.
Yeah,
Okay.
if a woman and a man are similar and in a relationship, then the woman must be faking all of it. And
Can I say, okay, so this is a sociopath who is faking stuff in order to get in a situation where she could seriously exploit her partner. Don't be like that. And don't blame men for you being a sociopath, pretending to be something you're not in order to get something you don't deserve. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Also, other movie recommendations. Top 5, top 10 favorites of me and my husband. Unforgiven and Gran Torino.
Very good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lindsay likes all those that you said, 13th Warrior and all that, because they're all amazing. And Tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
Which, that's a good one, right? And we're also, I'm going to start, I heard, I'm just may as well say it now. They're doing a series for Shogun on FX.
Oh.
Now, based on a novel that my father owned, and I was talking to Lindsay. I said, "Oh, my dad had the book for this, and he was like really into it." And then they made a mini series in the 80s.
Yeah,
it was like 1980 or something like that.
Yeah.
And my father watched it, and then Lindsay was like, "Oh, my father had that book too." And I'm like, "Oh shit, we're gonna watch Shogun then." I mean, I can watch the original as well, but I want to watch the new one because I hear it's very good. So we're gonna check out Shogun. I'll give you guys my thoughts next time I see you, because I'm really worried they're gonna put some bullshit in there. I'm really worried about that.
Oh,
but anyway,
if you're looking for a good action movie, kind of like psychological action thriller movie, just recently, what's that guy's name? Jason Gordon-Levitt, from Third Rock.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph, yeah. 7500, I think it's called. 7500, and it's about a hijacked plane, and it's pretty good.
All right, well, I'll look it up.
Get in here to do some business.
Yeah.
I don't have any thank yous yet, but I see that Mr. Stupid is trying desperately to put in something to the Badger Media Blitz. And
well, is he too stupid to be able to figure it out?
No, it's not that. It's probably PayPal. So if you want to get through, I would suggest switching to the other payment option, because PayPal is probably throwing a fit right now or something. But I commend you for your dedication to trying to put something in, because this is like the 5th time I see here on our dashboard that Mr. Stupid has attempted to insert shekels, and PayPal has been no.
Well, if he didn't want me to make assumptions, he wouldn't have chosen that username.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think he's stupid. I think it's just PayPal. It's being stupid.
Probably.
PayPal, more like gay pal, right, Peter Thiel?
Yeah.
Gay! All right.
Keep going, Mr. Stupid.
Let's play some
It'll
more.
eventually go through, and I appreciate your efforts.
At least PayPal's not a fag. It's a gay fag, but not a fag.
I think let's finish this, and then I'll tell you guys the lay of how I got blocked by.
Okay, I got a super chow, at least one. Yeah, just the one. So Richard Bier gave us $5 and said, there is a common theme. There seems to be a common theme between movies like Gone Girl, Barbie, and Midsommar, which is the reaction litmus test these movies present to the audience. And the reaction depends heavily, right spelling this time, on a person's political/philosophical standing. And I don't know if the makers of these movies know that they are causing such a divide within their audience. Well, I think they believe that they're on the right side of that argument. But yes, you're right. Midsommar is also an incredibly misandric movie, just like Barbie and Gone Girl. And I think that they're very popular with women. And I think, I'm just putting it out there, it says a lot about women. It doesn't say as much about the people who made it, but it says a lot about the people who like it and how much money they made.
Differences. I think the litmus test is whether or not you can care about men when they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And whether or not you think they have a legitimate right to be. I mean, honestly, Gone Girl, it's like, I find it terrible. I know that I'm like looking at two women that like, I don't understand how that's the takeaway from that movie. And the takeaway isn't how hard those two women tried to save the guy and they just weren't able to. And that's just like, it terrifies me that.
Well, I don't understand how this monologue is relatable.
Well, because you guys are like, you know, well-adjusted human beings. But I think that a lot of women are clapping to this. I don't know if they're just like, you know, some people like Rachel Wilson would say that women are very easy to propagandize into like all kinds of shit, like hating men. I don't want to believe that, but it does look that way.
No,
Okay, here's the
most
thing.
women are pretty soft in the head there, Brian. So
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. This is a result of women regarding their only value to be intersectional competition over men.
intersexual.
Intra, not inter.
No,
not between.
intersexual.
Intrasexual competition over men.
Not intrasectional. That's
Well,
a
it could be
soap
that too. Okay. Intrasexual competition over men. So their only identity is desirability, which is really disturbing. Like, but that explains this, because they don't do or think anything unless they perceive it to be eliciting desire from men for the purposes of gaining something over other women. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, this monologue, the reason why women relate to it is because the monologue is just projection. Because what did Gone Girl do? You know, she got with a guy by pretending, and then she pretended that she was dead, and then she framed him for her pretend murder, and then she came back and pretended to be something different, and then they got back together again. Is that the gist of it?
Pretended to be the victim of a kidnapping and rape after she murdered the guy.
Yeah.
And that she like supposedly made a heroic escape and went back to the guy and used it was like the author of the book, Karen, is aware of every single tool women have at their disposal and still frames the film or story in the way that women are victims of men. Even though it knows every loophole, she's telling you they know every loophole they can use to destroy. She didn't just destroy the life of the guy. She destroyed the life of another guy. Literally, she murders a guy and frames him as her kidnapper and rapist.
Oh.
And he was, I mean, he thought he was just going to get laid. But she ended up killing him.
Oh.
And so yeah, and then she goes right back to the life that she, you know, she was able to go right back into society basically with more sympathy and a bunch of media coverage and everything. She was like a hero.
And the only people at the end, like even the guy was like, "This is my life now. I shall submit to it." The only people,
yeah, because he knows he can't do anything.
Recognize the true horror of all of it was the female cop and his sister, and they were completely incapable of doing anything.
Yeah, no, but that's because they were cool girls.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
Like literally a cool girl is a person or a woman who regards men as people. Oh boy. Geez, I wonder why men would want that.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
There was one other thing too. I was just gonna mention about that film or that story. But I can't remember it now. It's okay, but yeah, if you've never seen Gone Girl,
don't.
And Midsummer, Midsummer is a horror film, but like there's some interesting things in that too, like really disturbing. But anyway, let's.
Oh, that where like she gives birth to like.
No, that's something.
No. So Midsummer is the one where they go to this like place in Sweden for like these college kids, and there's a girl, and they go to Sweden or it's in like the area because there's like a special holiday where the sun doesn't go down because of like where it's positioned, or whatever, and it's like a cult, and a bunch of creepy shit happens, and
or is it dubbed?
No, it's in English. It's made by the guy who made Hereditary. You ever see Hereditary?
No.
It's a horror film too, but
yeah,
his movie, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's dark. It goes into it's very pessimistic.
All right,
Okay.
I'm gonna say I have to be out the door in 10 minutes. So
Now let's finish this off, Ron. Let's not talk about.
Well, just go a little bit further because I know you want to tell your story. I got a super chow though. I should really read it.
I do have a thank you as well. And
all right,
we could finish this section, which is like what, 30 seconds left.
Yeah, I could do the super chow, finish the section, and you can do the thank you.
Or we could finish the section, then do the super chow and the thank you.
All right, I'll finish the section.
He wants cool girl, who is basically the girl who likes every effing thing he likes and doesn't ever complain. How do you know you're not cool girl? Because he says things like, I like strong women. If he says that to you, he will at some point F somebody else. Because I like strong women is code for I hate strong women. Whew, that
What?
Yeah, so basically when men say they like you, they don't actually like you. Because reasons.
Oh, good grief.
well, when men say they like strong women, what they would like is somebody who is a stoic, right?
And strong for them.
Who can carry their share of the load.
Yeah.
And if that ain't you, then I'm real sorry to break it to you, but you are not a strong woman. So
It's so bizarre because this is a squirrely mixture of defining yourself entirely by your desirability to men and complaining about defining yourself entirely by your desirability to men. Like, okay, so the cool girl is somebody who does everything to be desirable to men, but it's totally inauthentic. Well, why is she doing that? Because she gets some benefit out of it. So she's basically lying to her partners to get benefit out of them. Well, have you considered not lying to your partners, developing a sense of self, and from finding a companion who appreciates that? Like, is that not within your cosmology? This says so much about the mentality that embraces this stuff. Just like the previous video where she's talking about the ideal relationship or the ideal mentality, the ideal woman's mentality towards a relationship, and it's basically a belligerent in a Cold War. Like, that says a lot about you. And this says a lot about you. Have you considered not lying to your partners? Like, have you considered that maybe you're the one in the wrong if you're pretending to be something you're not to get things that you don't deserve? Has that a possibility? Or do you think like in this context, would the ideal situation have been for the narcissistic sociopath to be able to say to her husband, oh, by the way, I really want to fake my death so I get to jill off to you dying on death row? I really want that. Why can't I just be open about my desires with you? Why do I have to hide that? Like, why are you such a patriarchal monster making me hide my desire to destroy your life? Like, why does the patriarchy make me hide the fact that I murdered a man and faked him raping me in order to cover the fact that I faked my own death to try to frame my husband, to get him killed? Why does patriarchy force me to hide my true self? Why can't they appreciate the monster that I am? Like, are you fucking kidding me? You guys are quiet. Have I just...
Yeah, I was waiting on... I wasn't sure we were done. Okay, I got some super chows.
Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, go
No, I'm not. We have super chows. Okay, so I got one from Anonymous for $5. It says, Allison often says that we need the ability to shame women for their toxic behavior. What if it took something close to an apocalyptic societal collapse before we might wrap our heads around being unempathetic, insulting, or if necessary, even violent against borderline psychopathic women.
Well,
I don't know if
yes.
it would need to be that extreme, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, we are technically violent towards borderline psychopathic women. It's called the justice system.
Well, when it works.
When it works, and you're right.
Yeah.
That's something we really need to wrap our heads around.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories of women that literally murder babies that get off because they're like, well, she's got a great bright career ahead of her. She's trying to be a doctor, so
Oh no,
we all make mistakes.
There are women who murder actual out of the womb babies who.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, they get.
I don't mean abortions. I mean like out of the womb babies.
Yeah, and everybody's like,
Well, you get one or two or three.
It's hormonal.
It's hormones.
Yeah, they're postpartum, right?
The nuclear codes.
Yeah.
The fourth child. This will be the one that this woman doesn't murder. Okay, so Mr.
I got another super chat. I got another one.
Sorry.
Richard Beer gives us $5 and says, remember that even if something does turn a woman on, she might not let you know because that would give you power over her and she doesn't really like you. If she really doesn't like you, then she doesn't want you to know that something about you happens to turn her on. Besides, she doesn't like it when she finds herself being turned on by a man who she doesn't like because that's wrong somehow. He's referencing the video he sent that we did on the after show.
The video.
The one that
you attenuated in a super chat, but super chow. But okay,
yeah.
So Mr. Stupid finally got through, and he did it based on my advice to him to switch from one payment to the other payment. So thank you, Mr. Stupid. I think he deserves a big round of applause for that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna come.
Okay, and he put in $35. Thank you, Mr. Stupid. We're now at $695 with 2 days left, so we still got a ways to go. Please help us out. feedthebadger.com/support, and I will tell you my adventures on Twitter. It's my fault, by the way. Like, at the end, it's probably my fault. I pissed this guy off. But I did a tweet where I said that, so we're just doing a little something different. Conservatives mock men for their childish hobbies, but after a man has done his tour of divorce and family court, they're often the only joy he has left in life. And I've seen this. So, and some guy, who I won't name specifically, because he ended up blocking me, said, and the rest of us don't even get a seat at the table. Women won't even look at me. And I said, skip the middleman. And he said, yeah, you ain't kidding. Already miserable, Lemau, touche. And I said, but now build yourself out. Honestly, I don't know why men think women are going to elevate them out of misery. Look at women. Do you think they have the secret to not being miserable? Sorry. And then he goes on and he says, 922 days, no booze, lost 75 pounds, now cardio weights every day, paid off $53K in debt, bought a house, renovated myself. I made over $136K before taxes last year. Tell me again how I'm not working, how I'm not. Build yourself out. Well, honestly, I think that's a bit of a trap because I had no idea of the context, but whatever. And then I responded with, and you're still miserable? Then those things don't make you happy. Which I think is just obvious, honestly. And then he responds with, see, this is proof no amount of effort is enough for women. And I said, dude, do you want me to tell you that you're happy when you said you're miserable? And there's the dude comment, the absolute worst thing a woman can call a man. And I just found this really interesting because it's like, if all of these external things aren't making you happy, then they're not making you happy, right?
True. But, it is kind of like, okay, I think what he actually wants is a relationship. And he's doing these things in order to get one, and he hasn't been able to get one. And so, his primary goal, which should be attainable for almost all people, right, is still not attainable despite earning six figures, owning a house, and, having, a good body. it's still not attainable to him. So I can understand why he's frustrated. I can understand why he's complaining about the 80-20 rule, because that's what he's complaining
But
about.
the point was that at the end of the day, there are men out there who have had a relationship and been so destroyed that they're basically back to what gave them joy before it even started, right? And I mean, to go in and say, well, I didn't even get this. It's like, well, yeah, I know you didn't get that, but you're sort of taking away from the situation that a lot of guys who've been through the ringer have been through, right? And it's not a competition, but you're sort of making it one. But also, and that's not really criticism. That's not really where I'm going with this. Also, it was about personal happiness, right? Not about this thing is supposed to get me this other thing. That makes sense?
Well, it makes sense, but that's not how the world works, Allison.
All right. Well, explain.
Well, if I work and work and work at a job and I don't get paid, at the end of the 2 weeks or whatever, I don't get a paycheck. Okay, even if I didn't mind doing the work, even if I wasn't miserable doing the work, I was doing the work to get paid, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, right? Like he's obviously gone through all of these steps in the service of a higher goal,
mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, yeah, no, a guy who, I don't know how old he is, but $136,000 a year, owns a house, right? Got himself out of debt, lost a bunch of weight, really, and keeping his body in shape and all of that, really working on it, right? Well, he's doing that with a goal in mind. And if women are still sticking their noses up at him and saying, it's kind of like the Jamaican women at the store who, they ask me, like, why doesn't your son have a girlfriend? Right? Because they're looking at him. He's 6'5". He's in incredible shape, right? And he's got a nice face. And they're like, okay, and he's got a good job. And they're like, why doesn't he have a girlfriend? And then I was telling him, they think you're like really good looking. These middle-aged Jamaican women, they think you're like hot to trot, right? I think they might try and pawn off one of their daughters to you, right? And he's like, okay, so if I'm that attractive, like, where are the women?
Yeah.
Where are they? So it's like,
well, they've been sold that having a male partner, is about as health. You might as well just pick up a crack habit, because they're about as worthy.
They've also been sold that having a male partner is something that you don't need to even think about until you're 35.
Yeah, way past when. Yeah, but ultimately, like, I think that maybe we were at cross purposes when we were talking, perhaps. Because, and maybe this is just my frustration speaking, but if you roll the dice and you're just going to end up with where you started, is there a point to rolling the dice? Honestly, I mean, I guess you could win really big, but then the other thing is that I was really thinking about this, because what he's asking and what men are asking is, well, what do we need to do to be attractive to women? And what do we need to do? And we're willing to do all this, and we're willing to do all that, and we're still not attractive. And I was really thinking about this, and I was thinking that the one thing that women don't have is contentment, is being able to be content with this society or with what they have now. I mean, this is the one thing that it seems like women have almost nothing of. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I think that basically what these men who go through these things, they need to realize, right, that this is kind of the difference between men and women, is that, and this is fundamentally the eternal complaint of feminists in terms of what attracts the opposite sex and things like that. And it's like, yeah, no, you can be as powerful and wealthy and influential as Madeleine Albright, but you're not going to have a line of a queue of, you know, young soccer players lined up outside your freaking boudoir door, right? That's just not going to happen. And, you know, like, whereas with men, they can accumulate value through their lives. And this is what a huge amount of feminist complaint is that men don't lose value as they get older, right, necessarily. But all of those things that men accumulate, you know, human capital, job experience, earning potential, assets, all of those things that they accumulate throughout their lives, right? Those all make them more attractive as they get older to a point, right? And but for women, there's not the same payoff, right?
Okay, but the other thing is that
but you have to actually let those guys know, right? Owning a home is no small thing, right?
Yeah.
Buying your way out of, or paying your way out of $53,000 in debt is no small thing, right?
I'm not saying it is.
Losing all that weight and getting into shape is no small thing, and those things should actually make you improve your perspective, even if you're looking at going forward throughout your life as an individual as opposed to half of a couple, right? Like, these things bring value in and of themselves, right? Health, assets, right? Liquidity, experience, right?
Okay,
all
so
they have value in and of themselves, right? So
okay, so what the thing is that what I was saying is, if these things aren't making you happy, like, and I don't care. Like, ultimately, this is none of my business, right? I mean, if he wants to not be happy, that's his business, right? But if these things are not making you happy, then they're not making you happy, is all I was saying.
Well, yeah, but he needs to actually gain some satisfaction from those things. Like, he needs to, like, retrain his brain in such a way to say, you know, like, I have a nice house. I have these things that I did, right? That I accomplished by myself, right? On my own, with my own efforts, and that gives me some satisfaction. Like, there should be something it's like milestones, right? In terms of you're working your way towards a singular goal, but you're hitting all of the milestones. Maybe the singular goal hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean you need to be dissatisfied and annoyed about the fact that you did all of these things, right? Because all of those things make your life better.
Yeah.
Objectively.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, but none of it matters unless he has a woman. And I'm like, but a woman isn't a guarantee of elevating you out of misery.
Well, you know, like, honestly, it depends on what kind of woman you get. Depending on what kind of woman you get, you could lose freaking more than half.
Yeah, you could lose everything you've gained. And maybe that doesn't matter as long as you've got that seal of approval from a woman. But then on the other hand, I see guys who've gone through it and they don't look very happy either.
No.
So it's like, at what point? What makes people happy? Or at least content?
Well,
like, just what does it? And I'm just saying, you know, like, if this isn't it, then maybe look somewhere else, is all I was getting at.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this stuff is not worthy or not impressive, but if you're saying I'm miserable, I've done all of these things, and I say, well, they're not making you happy, you're jumping down my throat, but you're the one who's dismissing it because they're not making you happy.
Yeah,
getting at.
and they should make him happy. Like, honestly, those are like massive accomplishments, and he should be like very proud of himself. But,
well, yeah, but it's like a sign of depression that you can't take some, appreciate yourself for it, right?
Yeah.
So, and
anyway,
that needs a change in thinking. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because I think it relates to this somehow. I don't know exactly how.
Yeah, well, it does kind of relate to this, but let me just let you know I have to go. Okay, can you stop dragging your maraca on the ground there? Just because we put an air tag on you doesn't mean you need to make all that noise.
Yes, go tend to your doggos. Brian, did you have anything to say about this?
Being happy is a choice.
Being happy is a choice.
You have to be satisfied. You have to like. I think it's a choice that you can make, and people need to count their blessings.
That is like gratitude is a practice, is a daily
practice. Gratitude. Yes.
And you don't have to just be grateful for the things that you give people. You got to be grateful for the things that you give yourself.
Yeah.
It is a daily practice.
And I don't know, just don't take things for granted. I think that's one of the big problems is that women seem to be in a constant state of the FOMO. And it's like, look around you. Like, look at what we have. Look at what you could be squandering. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what this is, really. I mean, like, what's wrong with like not just being gracious, but also like, and being grateful, but also making the occasional sacrifice. I mean, we have to do it all the time.
Yeah, but let me like frame it, because we have Hannah Cox and we have this individual I was having a conversation with who's done all of this, but none of it matters without a woman. Like, none of it makes him happy without a woman. So let's bring Hannah Cox into that. He's in this relationship with a man who cannot be happy without her. How does that make her feel? And what does she think? It's just something that's sort of I'm moving over in my mind. And I don't have any conclusions. I'm just putting it out there. All I have is questions. All right. So let me double check to make sure we've gotten all of our thank yous in. Yep. So once again, we are doing our monthly fundraiser so we can continue to talk about the things that we talk about in the way that we talk about them. Please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help us out. And if you have a commentary on anything that we've said, including my strange wafflings, you can send us a line at feedthebadger.com/justtip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. You get the full benefit of not having to send them through YouTube, which is a big benefit. It's a big benefit for us. I think it's a big benefit for you. Okay, back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. If you want to watch Hannah Cox's video, you can look at it in the description. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring, and we will talk to you all in the next one.
Are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.